Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Jets Radio. This is one of your hosts, Tyson Roush, and we are close to the draft. We are a little bit over a week away, so we have a ton to talk about. We hope everybody is staying safe, social distancing, your families are safe and healthy. So let me introduce the man of the people, Long Beach Joe. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Ty? Man, yeah, I hope everyone is staying safe. A lot of crazy stuff going on, but social distancing, everyone, we'll all get through this together. But, kind of move on from that, man. I cannot wait. Draft's coming up. A lot of changes that we can make. A lot of things we can do to help this football team. So, can't wait to talk about it all. So, listen, let's get into it. I'm the man of the people. I'm here for the people. Let me shamelessly promote our Facebook page. Everyone go on Facebook, search Let's Talk Jets Radio. Like that page. Our content's up there. Go ahead and give it a listen. Message us. We'll message you right back. We love going back and forth with folks about this football team. Also, leave us some feedback. We love hearing about what you folks think we do here on Let's Talk Jets Radio. So without further ado, Ty, let's go ahead and get into the show, man. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I'm pretty fired up, too. As always, we're on Instagram and Twitter at Talk Jets Radio. We're on YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio, and give credit to Primetime. Primetime talked me into joining Zoom, and now we're doing Zoom calls and taping them and putting them on our YouTube channel. So, and the best thing about our YouTube channel is there's no filters there. So you're going to get all kinds of surprises in our videos. So check. Yeah. we have YouTube, Let's Talk Jets Radio Unleashed, which is my favorite place to be. So go to that channel, check it out. Primetime rattled my cage, Joe. It wasn't my fault, man. He rattled my cage, and then we did 45 minutes of Jets talk.
Yeah, I apologize to everyone that is going over there. The feedback we see, I definitely see the comments. Where people are wondering what happened, where's the order. Look, it's the Wild West. Okay, it's the Wild West over there. Understand that what's being said, some of the words that are being uttered over there, it is what it is, but just cover your ears and get through it. It's a lot of great content, but, Tyson's definitely gonna let it fly, you know what I'm saying? And Kev as well, Kev as well. I expected more of Kev, but I think you drugged him down into your dungeon, you know what I'm saying? But they're putting out great stuff, you know what I'm saying? We're all putting out great stuff, but, man, they are dropping those bombs.
Yeah, so Let's Talk Jets Radio on YouTube. Check it out there. Subscribe. Also, this show, if you want to subscribe here, we're on iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Google Play, all those different places, Podbean. So subscribe, leave feedback. As Joe said, we do our best to interact with everybody. And also, just make sure, if you can, to support the local food banks. A lot of these food banks, everybody's trying to raise money. Any money you can give. As you guys know, we do a lot of shows with the food banks, usually in December and November. Please find a way to donate. There's definitely a trying time. They definitely could use the help. And, Joe, we have Jeff Lloyd joining us in a few minutes, but we're about a weekend away from the draft, and it's pretty wild, man. Like, a lot of rumors, and now you're starting to hear all these things, what guys are rising the ladder, falling down the ladder, all this different stuff. Like, the smoke screens are full effect. This is when it gets crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And I'm just hoping that, Joe Douglas and, that whole staff is ready because, as well with the virus, so this draft is going to be, different than some in the past, the way that they're going to have to communicate. They can't all be in the same place at the same time. So it's going to be, some trying stuff, but I'm hoping that they have a solid plan to get through this, and I hope that Joe Douglas attacks this draft. We need a lot of players. We need a lot of impact players in multiple positions. And we need an infuse of young talent, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. This draft is huge to me, at least, because you're pretty much you're starting to set the table or setting the table for your franchise quarterback. You've got to do something to help Sam Darnold this season and the seasons to come if you plan on, him being anything here. So I'm just hoping, I'm going to keep saying this, I hope that Joe Douglas is ready. And I'm hoping, that Adam Gase hasn't had too much input on the draft and picks and stuff like that. I'm hoping that they were able to agree, but he's not bullying and getting his way on just any and every guy that he wants.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest storylines of this draft. And it's definitely important after you look at the way they handled free agency, but it's just are these guys truly on the same page? Are they going to be Joe Douglas players? Are they Adam Gase players? Are they a combination of both? Are they going to draft for need? Are they going to draft best player available? And that's where it gets interesting, man, because that's one thing that Mike McCagnon always did was like, oh, listen, it's best player available. I'm going to go by what my chart is. And then Joe Douglas seems to have a different kind of classification system where it's like, listen, I go best player available at the position I need, which makes a whole lot more sense to me, but what the hell do I know?
Oh, my God.
We're just fans.
You know what's crazy about that? You can literally, I know you're laughing. I know why you're laughing, because I literally used to say that on shows. I literally used, verbatim, I used to say that the best player available is an idiotic strategy and that we should be taking the best player available that fits our needs. Best player available is why we ended up taking so many defensive linemen, not addressing needs in the draft, especially in the mid-rounds, and drafting the positions that we really didn't need, and we were horrific. You know what I'm saying? So this best player available, they got to stop doing that. You got to take the best guy available to fit your needs.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's one of the things that drove me crazy. It's just like you're sitting here, it's like, you make the joke about defensive linemen in the first round, but then it happens. So, and one thing that we have to mention is a lot of credit to Quinnen Williams, who donated $25,000 of meals, and he's going to do it to different hospitals each week. So a lot of credit to Quinnen Williams for getting back and helping out in these trying times. But Joey, it's true. I was actually on Gangrene David's. He does a little podcast thing, and I went on that. We talked about it. He's like, could you ever see something going wrong? And I'm like, of course. I'm like, we've seen it go wrong for how many years now? But now we're trying to give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt because, like, listen, Joe, I be honest with you. If they take a defensive lineman, just say one falls to 11 and they take one, I'm done, dude. It's like this, the computer goes through the TV, and I'm just going to blow a gasket. Because sometimes common sense has to prevail. Like, you just have to know better at this point that there's certain positions that are not in need right now where we have such glaring holes on offense. We have to address them.
Alignment, that would be the end of it.
That'd be the end of the show.
I would go crazy. Look, I'm just hoping, like you said, that he is able to understand and identify needs on the football team and addresses them properly within his draft. I also want to see him make smart decisions. We used to see Mike McCagnon make some dumb-ass decisions in the draft day, particularly trading down and getting fleeced in those trades. Oh, my goodness. We used to talk about it every draft where he would do something so stupid and move down and miss on a guy or miss on a couple guys, to pick up a bunch of six-round picks that were like, barely making the roster if they were making the roster, So I'm hoping that Joe Douglas can work the board as well, moving up, moving down, particularly, like I said, in those mid-rounds is where I think he'll be able to cash in a little bit and really get more capital back if he wants to move down maybe a pick or two and still get a guy. So I want to see how he handles those draft day trades.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing. Like, we've talked about it for, it seems like 2 months now, where it's like, listen, the first and second round we could all focus on and argue about it and everything else, but he's got to earn his money in the mid-rounds, the later rounds. That's where we got the third round, 2 picks there. You got to maximize this, and that's what's bit us in the ass for years. Because 2 years from now, you want these guys to be like either starters or high-level starters or something else. Like, you just got to get more value out of our picks, and that's what Joe Douglas has to do. So, it is what it is, and, I'm getting ripped out. I'm just getting trashed on Twitter for my takes. They're saying, oh, you're so negative, you're so skeptical. That's the way I ain't programmed like this. But, dude, the Jets have programmed me like this. I don't like being like this, but the history of stupidity and idiot, it's just you can't help it. So now you're skeptical, and this is his first draft. He's had a year to prepare for it, an entire year to figure this out. So he should be prepared, and you hope for the best. But to just, it's just I'm ingrained, Joe. Where I just worry. Like, if you're a Jets fan, confident going into the draft, God bless you. I wish I could feel that way. I'm feeling positive and I'm hopeful, but I'm far from like this is going to be a slam dunk.
Yeah, I understand why you feel the way that you do, but I feel a little bit more positive than I have in the past, especially during the McCagnon era. I'm definitely more positive. It's because they've cleared out a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys that were sitting in the scouting department or guys, he's gotten rid of a lot of those guys. He's brought in a lot of fresh faces, a lot of guys that have big-time connections or have, understand how to build football teams. That was one of the big things about getting him here. Remember, we was chasing Joe Douglas for so long. We were negotiating with him. He wanted to come, and then it was like, I want this much money, and I also want to have power over getting my guys in here from the front office. So, I'm kind of excited about this draft. I really am. And I understand why some fans are, and you as well, are, skeptical and wondering or not as positive. But I just think that this is a new day. And I think he's going to be able to come in and really make some changes and do things that we need to do.
No, I agree. Listen, he has a very good staff around him. He brought in his guys. It's a highly touted, front office. The only potential concern I have is maybe Adam Gase. That's the only thing. Other than that, we see what happens.
Oh,
just that power play. That's the only, if this was, say, in theory, Joe Douglas's coach that he hired, you'd be like, all right, but this is kind of like a forced marriage where Adam Gase made a power play to get him in here. That's the only concern I have, where if they're out on the clock at 11, and say Joe Douglas wants Andrew Thomas and Adam Gase wants CeeDee Lamb, who wins? That's my question.
Yeah. Especially with the reporting structure being the way that it is here. But that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it is what it is. But what I'm hoping is that since they've given Joe Douglas again, was it like a 6-year deal or something like that? I'm hoping that they understand and have faith in him to do what he needs to do and do his job correctly. I am a little worried as well about the power that Adam Gase wields with Chris Johnson, because we've seen him literally be able to take over the franchise. But again, I'm hoping with Joe Douglas here and all the guys he has in place, all the scouts that he has in place as well, that they allow him to do his job and do it effectively.
Yep, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a guest who is a very special guest, one of my favorite ones we bring on every time during draft time. It's Jeff Lloyd. If you want to follow him on Twitter, it's Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. He's the host of Locked On Browns, which is just taken off, just skyrocketed. Man, he's doing all kinds of work. Excellent Jets fan, excellent draft analyst. So, Jeff, what's up, man? Welcome back.
Guys, it's been too long. How's everybody holding up?
Hey, man, we're trying to do our best, man. Crazy times, but the draft is a perfect escape for a lot of us, so we definitely appreciate you coming on, man.
Oh, anytime. You guys know that. And that's even been the thing. It's, the draft has been set. It's always set for, almost a year in advance. But, with all that's going on here now, and, yeah, I think we're all looking forward to it here. It's great they're showing these past great sporting events, but, we're all kidding. We've seen these things. I think the thirst for new, different, live is something we're all looking forward to. Does it seem a little disingenuous? But, yeah, everybody's got their little guilty pleasures that are getting them through these times that we're all going through.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And as we look at this, Joe and I have been going crazy over this draft. I know you follow closely, and you do all kinds of great stuff with it. And obviously, Jeff, it's no secret here. The Jets are looking for an offensive tackle, a left tackle. They desperately need one. We've probably beaten it to death. What are your thoughts on the draft class, like a top 4 guys, the offensive tackles?
I think it's this group, and it's not even just the top 4. Yeah, there's a top 4 tier of some exceptional players, whether it's Makai Becton, whether it's Andrew Thomas, whether it's Tristan Wirfs, whether it's Jedrick Wills. And there may be a way where you want to try to cherry pick each one, and it maybe becomes a little bit more teams for a left tackle. Jedrick Wills has never played there, so you have no way of projecting how that works out. I think everybody's been sleeping on Andrew Thomas, which I don't understand. That he was the number 1 tackle going into this draft. His combine was perfectly more than acceptable. Granted, Tristan Wirfs blew it up with some great athletic numbers, but I don't know how you would sleep on an Andrew Thomas. Makai Becton maybe is what you're looking for is the future. An amateur basketball player growing into the position, massive, moves extremely well. Granted, we didn't get a full combine, but running almost a 5-flat 40 at 364 pounds is just insane. Wirfs has played left side. He's played right side. He's got fantastic mobility, a former high school champion wrestler. He's just physical. He's got that dog to him. This top 4, but even still, you can go 13, maybe even 14 deep at the position into maybe the beginning of the 3rd round. And this is one of the best tackle classes I can remember. I remember talking a ton about, and everybody always talks about the 14 wide receiver draft class. This is the equivalent to the offensive tackle class. This 2020 draft class at the offensive tackle position is just insanely deep with a bunch of guys that, as long as health works out for them, you're talking about guys who are going to play 8 to 10 years all up and down that offensive line, just solid ball players.
Jeff, I want to thank you for coming on, man. I love talking to you about this team and also talking just about the draft in general with you as well. I want to get your thoughts a little bit more. You kind of touched on Makai Becton. I know that there's a lot of people that are kind of afraid, saying that he's maybe a boom or bust guy. outside the Metropol's big guy, knows, very physical. What are your thoughts about him individually? Is he a mauler? Is he a big finisher?
I think the first thing that when you look at the tape on Makai Becton, the first thing you notice is, yes, in the run game, he's just that mean old, and granted, he is that big, but he's the guy that drives you to the ground, and if you're stupid enough to get up, guess what? He's going to drive you to the ground again. One of the issues you may have with Makai Becton is to his size, and, at the Combine, we were hoping for closer to 350. There were rumors of him playing somewhere in the 370s at Louisville. That causes you and, gives you some pause for hesitation. It's a lot of stress on joints, on knees, on ankles, even, the upper body and the back. And so what you get concerned about, though, is how is it going to hold up? And especially with him being 6'7" plus, there's going to be a lot of action rolling into his lower body, as we see all the time with offensive line. Sometimes you don't get hurt just by getting hurt. You get hurt by the trash rolling into your legs. 6'7", it's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to deal with that type of stuff. The pass blocking, you don't have near the resume of him as a pass blocker as you do some of these other guys. Again, this may just be cherry picking. He spent his off season and draft prep with Duke Manyweather, who is one of the best in the business, who keeps working him at the right side where he started at Louisville, and at the left side, keeping everything intact for trying to what's going to make for the best pro career for his prospect. So Becton, there's a little bit maybe more hesitation because it's I haven't seen this just yet. But I mean, you go back and you look at some YouTube video of him running around a basketball court, and at the time as a senior in high school, he was definitely north of 300 pounds, moves well, moves fluid. It's the case of, has he grown more into his body and he's more comfortable with it? Can he handle himself at this 360 range, which is certainly plausible. But you look at it, you want to look for like an absolute destroyer, and guess what? We're going to run a little wide zone left, or we're going to run toss left, and getting him out in front. There's going to be a lot of guys that just say, you know what, and essentially just tap out and lay down and just get the hell out of the way. I don't see any reason he's not worth what any of these other prospects are, as far as the tackle group being drafted anywhere between 4 into the 11 range. I don't know if they're going to slip any further. Maybe the last one goes to Tampa Bay at 14. But this is a group that can play ball, and Makai Becton, there's no reason you can't think he's not going to fit in with the rest of this group.
And I know you talked a little bit about just the top 4 tackles. You kind of touched on, the rest of the class a little bit as well, talking about how deep it was. But how much of a drop-off is it from the top 4 to kind of that second tier, guys that could go in the second round, third round down?
Well, if you look at just, I think there's going to be 7 offensive tackles that most likely will go round 1. You're going to get to that second 3, where it's Josh Jones from Houston, who maybe has the longest resume of any offensive tackle in this class. Comes in as comes into this draft as a redshirt senior, played 4 straight years. Houston, as the years have gone over the last couple of years, not only are they playing their AAC schedule, they're playing some big names to start the season. He's technically sound. He tested well enough as an athlete. You get to Ezra Cleveland from Boise. When you look at Ezra Cleveland, you like him to be a little bit more of a jerk, a little bit more of a bully. He's athletic enough. There's always this line you use with offensive linemen is, are you looking for work? Which means your assignment is done. But do you go the extra mile? Like I said about Makai Becton, not only is he going to drive you to the ground once, if you're foolish enough to get up, he's going to do it again. That's some things you don't necessarily see with a guy like Ezra Cleveland out of Boise State. Athletically off the charts. I know my Browns are a heavily interested team. Teams that run the wide zone concept are going to have a lot of interest in him. Then you get to Austin Jackson. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to know well. Now, Austin Jackson, this was one of the things that went through this. You were watching the tape from the fall, and it's like, wow, he really doesn't look much different from the player he was in 2018. Kind of the same, really good, and but not much body transformation, not much elevation in his game. And then you go and you hear about how he spent the summer before his 2019 season. The guy literally gave up bone marrow to his sister who needed it. And it's like, all right, well, that makes a little more sense now. That makes sense why, the body didn't develop a little bit. Maybe why the game is still where it was. A guy does an unselfish act like that, and, here we are trying to find a way to nitpick him, and then when you hear that type of stuff, you're like, woof. So it takes you back a step. And then you get into, there's players like Lucas Niang from Texas Christian. He's only played the right side, had a really solid, career down there. The question is, though, was injuries, and we didn't get to see anything from him from the draft process. Same thing with Auburn's, Prince Taylor and Ogo. These are guys that were viewed as first-round possible offensive tackle prospects. You're going to draft them with a little bit of a wild card mentality because you're not going to have a complete report on them. You don't have testing numbers on them. But these guys were names that were mentioned with all these other guys. We're at 9 guys right there, and we barely began to scratch the surface.
Yeah, it's no doubt a deep class, and the Jets have a significant hole, so hopefully they get one of them. And once again, we're talking to Jeff Lloyd, who's very kind to join us. And, Jeff, obviously the Jets desperately need wide receiver help. I mean, you know that. We know that. It's been like that for a couple of years. There's a lot of arguments now with Jet fans between Judy and CeeDee Lamb. First of all, do you think they'll both be there at number 11? And how do you rank the wide receivers, like top 4 guys?
I think the question is going to be your preference. Obviously, everybody's kind of in love with Henry Ruggs because, you're looking for that guy who's going to give you that Tyreek Hill type of presence to your offense, where if you line him up outside and he runs a straight 9, there's nobody in the NFL that you can put one-on-one with him. So everybody likes that for what you can do for the rest of your offense. Judy is just smooth. Everything he does, it just seems to come so naturally, almost like a basketball player type of thing. CeeDee Lamb is more of it's a little more rugged. It's the yards after the catch. It's what you're looking for in these guys. And this is where I kind of get caught up here. As much as the Jets need offensive tackle play, you look at where they are with the wide receiver position. I got to see the rebirth of Brashard, actually I guess it was the birth of Brashard Perriman's career in Cleveland because he certainly didn't have a career in Baltimore. So I got to see him find himself. And then last year in Tampa. Look, it was a good signing, and to get him for maybe, half the money what you paid, Robbie Anderson, at Carolina obviously did, you see it. And then with Crowder. But as much as you see them needing an offensive tackle, this is the question I come back to for the Jets. The Jets could be in a position at 11 where maybe you're drafting the 4th best of these offensive tackles. And look, this top tier of 4 guys is a really, really solid group. So are you okay with that? Or would you want to wait for maybe offensive tackle 8 or 9 or 10, even around round 2, where these guys are accomplished, are solid players, and is there one specific wide receiver you're looking at, whether it's Judy, whether it's CeeDee Lamb, and say, you want to know what, him and Sam Darnold would be it, because then you can have Brashard Perriman run deep routes, where people are going to have to obviously give him a lot of extra attention. Jamison Crowder showed really well with Sam Darnold last year as a slot guy who was just, nasty feet, quick in and out of cuts. It's a tough spot for the Jets to be in. You could end up with a tackle that you think is really, really great for your system, or do you see that wide receiver where you say, you know what, if we pair him with Sam Darnold for the next 5 years, that could truly be the difference maker. And, for the Jets, you're looking at things differently now. 12 ain't in New England anymore. We've done this same show, guys, like 3 years in a row now, saying, what are you going to do to be able to involve New England? Now, maybe it's not the issue. Basically Superman hung up his cape. He ain't there no more. So this is a free-for-all. It's anybody's spot here to climb to the top of this division. Do you value the wide receiver, the guy who's going to score the points, or do you trust Sam with a lesser wide receiver? It's going to be a really, really tough decision for Joe Douglas and his staff when they sit down. Do we want wide receiver 1, or where do we view this tackle class? Are we more comfortable with a suitable offensive tackle who we think is functional within a lot of systems, or do we want the biggest, baddest wide receiver on the market?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I had a similar question for you, as Joe asked before, is, say they go offensive tackle at 11, how much is the drop-off, in the later part of the second round? Can you will these guys be there, or will there be, to me, in my opinion, there's going to be a run on wide receivers, because not a lot of them were signed in free agency. Could you see, still a solid receiver being available at the end of round 2?
I think where, you look where the Jets are set up, could it maybe be a Denzel Mims? Could it be a Michael Pittman, obviously another USC guy? But where is, in your opinion, and where is the way you're drafting these guys, is the drop-off in, for me, I think that the drop-off may be a little bit less in the tackle department. And, hey, I could be wrong here. But the wide receiver, I think if you have the chance to grab your dude and your guy, and oh my God, this is the best of the best, I think I would go wide receiver. Would it be Judy, who's just as smooth as the route runners? Would it be CeeDee Lamb, who's so great after the catch? And you pair that with Crowder. You pair that, obviously, with Breshad Perriman, be able to blow off the top. Maybe these tight ends can still remain functional here. Obviously, you got a lot of help out of the one last year. You finally get what you need out of, the Miami kid. I don't know. It's just that tough. If I'm the Jets, I'm probably going wide receiver if I have the opportunity to go ahead and take the guy I think fits my team best. It's not Henry Ruggs. You just signed Breshad Perriman to do that type of stuff. For me, if it's Judy, if it's CeeDee Lamb, they're there. You have one you have a preference on. Go get that guy.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very fair assessment. And the one player that I'm kind of interested in that slowly but surely is getting mentioned with the Jets is Chase Claypool. Now, I'm obviously a Notre Dame fan. To me, he's like a hybrid tight end kind of player. He's an enormous guy, dude. He's a crazy athlete, but he doesn't kind of play to his speed sometimes. What is your evaluation of him?
See, I'm with you. I would use him more. For me, I'm going to try him at tight end. At worst, what do I have? I have a Vincent Jackson type of wide receiver. Played with the Chargers years ago. A guy who's 6'4", 230 pounds. Guess what? If you're going to try to press him off the line, he's probably going to knock the living daylights out of you. Then you put in the athleticism and the fact that he runs low 4.4s. Obviously, not a ton of tape on him actually being a receiver. Notre Dame, obviously still a little bit back in the day here, not running the offense everybody else is in college football. But at worst, so, guess what? We're going to put your hand in the ground. Let's see what you can do. Are you good enough to block? If it doesn't work out, hopefully you still have Herndon. And then guess what? You put him outside, and it's just yet another big-body target wide receiver for Sam Darnold to work with. I don't think there's really a way you're going to lose with Chase Claypool, but I totally agree with you. If I'm drafting him, I'm going to try to turn him into a tight end. And number one, he's already automatically the most athletic tight end in the league if it works out. So you can live with some deficiency as far as not being the greatest of blockers, because he's going to be a nightmare for safeties and linebackers to cover.
Jeff, you talked a little bit about Pittman. Can you kind of give me his player comparison in the league, and what exactly do you think he'll be able to do if he is drafted for the Jets?
I think he's not your full complement of Julio Jones, but he's that big-bodied, and he does much better, obviously, running the deeper routes. He's really good at high-pointing the ball. Physical guy. He's built really, really well. Genetics from his dad, God bless him. His father still looks like a yoked-up goddamn pro wrestler. But you look at Michael Pittman, he has so much success down the field, and the win rate at vertical passes is through the roof. That's where he excels. He's not a guy you're going to run these smoke screens to or things of that nature. That's just not his game. But you have guys like that. You have a Crowder. He's more developed as a route runner coming out than Breshad Perriman was. He can do more of the route tree right now than Breshad Perriman can do. And with Sam, it seems like, Crowder's worked out for him. The size in the wide receivers, just obviously gives a quarterback a little bit more of a window of an opportunity with a longer guy, with a little bit of bigger guy. I know one of the problems the Jets did have with Robbie Anderson is the body just didn't get any bigger. It wasn't really any fault of Robbie Anderson's genetics, and Robbie's just, he's built the way he is. But they wanted a bigger, longer, guy who was a little bit thicker and could sustain going over the middle. Michael Pittman is that guy. And I don't think he's getting enough love here. And this is the worst part about this wide receiver class. As deep as it is, there are going to be so many guys that could have been in any other draft and maybe would have gotten drafted 20 picks higher, 25 picks higher. It's the luck of the draw this year. And the Combine had 57 wide receivers invited. It's an insane number. There's going to be guys who really have really, really, really good college resumes, really good athletic profiles, and they're not going to get drafted till late day 3 because it's just the way the breaks are going to be.
Could you see a player falling to 11 that would surprise everyone?
For me, the biggest guy I'm trying to have a hard time with is Isaiah Simmons. And it's not that I don't think Isaiah Simmons is a fantastic football player, But the problem I have with a guy like Isaiah Simmons and what Clemson did with him, and granted, he played well everywhere, and everybody says, oh, well, no, you want to do this with him, you're going to put him here, you're going to put him there, you're going to put him here. Nobody has any idea when we're actually going to get to work here NFL-wise. Could it be late July and everybody just shows up for training camp and, there'll be no OTAs, any of this stuff? Who knows? But in order to have a player like Isaiah Simmons and bank on his versatility, and look, he's going to get drafted before 11 because there's another team in New York that's just not going to be able to stop themselves. But the point is, if you want the true versatility of this guy, okay, that's great. Who's going to go play middle linebacker when you want to have Isaiah Simmons drop as a safety? Okay. When you want to have Isaiah Simmons kick up to be an edge rusher, well, who's going to be the guy who's going to play safety when you want to do this with Isaiah Simmons? When you want to use him all over, you need to have more creativity and you need to be able to have more diverse players on your roster. Teams usually drafting in the top 10 or so are not totally suited on defense to say, oh, let's go take this guy. We're going to be able to pair his versatility with so-and-so and so-and-so, and then, boom, all of a sudden we got this type of defense. If I'm going to take Isaiah Simmons, I'm going to make him a Mike linebacker. I don't care if he can play free safety. I don't care if he can be an edge rusher. I have one of the most athletic middle linebackers that's probably ever existed in the NFL. But the question is, where do you value that? Linebacker, as far as the draft, yeah, Devin White went kind of high last year. Yeah, Devin Bush, both went in the top 10. Did either one really hit on the return? Probably not. So the question is, and now you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl. If you guys sat down and I gave you a pencil and a piece of paper, if you could name two linebackers on that team, it'd probably be a win. It's a game that's evolving away from the linebacker position. So we're getting to this point where you get these safeties who are 6'2", 225 to 230 pounds, and the linebackers are maybe a little bit bigger or right around the same size, and not nearly as quick. So it's turned into more of a pass rush secondary game because all these games getting played in the high 30s, 35, 34 games. Are you really concerned about 1st and 10? Are you really concerned about when the other team comes out and says, all right, they got 4 wide receivers on the field, a running back in the backfield that runs 4-3? What are you going to do with that type of linebacker? Look, Simmons is that guy and will always stay on the field. But the question is what really is the price for it? And if his calling card is versatility, you get into one of these weird things. And, we did this years ago with Reggie Bush. Oh, we're going to be able to do this with him. You're going to be able to do this with him. You're going to be able to do that with him. Well, guess what? He never really found his home. He never really found his role. And ended up being a pick where he got drafted higher than he should have. Maybe it didn't really work out so much in what New Orleans had planned for him. But when somebody's calling card is versatility, for me it causes hesitation. I want to know what I can do with him. What is the greatest thing that he does? Because that's what I want him to do on every snap I ask him to play.
No, that's an excellent analysis of him. That's the first time I really heard that kind of perspective on him. Once again, we're talking to Jeff Lloyd. On Twitter, if you're not following him, what are you doing? Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Jeff, one of the big things we hear about a lot from Jet fans is, we have so many holes. A lot of people want to collect draft picks, and they're saying, you know what, we got to trade back in round 1, go back to 16, or, trade with the Falcons and all these different things. Would you, as Joe Douglas, consider doing that, or is it like, listen, we got to get our stud at 11?
I think this year, and this is going to be more than any year, look, you've got a lot of draft prospects in this draft. The way the combine was set up, a lot of guys said, and a lot of agents advised them, look, don't do it. Don't work out here. 9:30 at night, nobody is accustomed to getting the best performance out of their body as far as a workout at 9:30 at night. So, guess what happened? These guys, they didn't work at the combine. Obviously, the pro days ended up getting canceled. So these guys never really got a chance to work out. I think this is a year more than ever. You're going to want to stick to the lowest draft picks you have. If you can find a way to maybe, and this is where it's going to be tough, for the Jets, for the Cleveland Browns, these teams drafted in the top 10, you basically don't want to tell your fan base, we're going to wait another year. But you want to get these low picks in, and you want to get them taken care of. There's going to be playoff teams, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers, who don't need a lot of bodies, who can say, you want to know what? Let's punt on a couple of picks this year. We don't have a lot of full grades. We don't have a lot of full reports. So we'll save some picks and stock some picks for 2021 when we can get to business and doing the draft the way we normally did. For teams, obviously like the Jets, where this is there now. The AFC East is now wide open. I mean, yes, Buffalo went to the playoffs last year, but what happened in the playoffs? Josh Allen proved that he wasn't able to get it done. So they're just trying to basically put a little more at it, and Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that's going to be epic because that's going to fail by week 3 whenever the season gets started. Because Stephon Diggs is going to tell Josh Allen how he was open every single play, and either Josh Allen overthrew him or just ran with the ball. So this is an opportunity for the Jets here. If you can bang out these first 2, 3, 4 picks, you get a little pass rush in here, you get some offensive line help, you can get one guy to maybe be the true number 1 wide receiver for this team. It changes the landscape, and it changes it really, really quickly.
Jeff, is there a pass rusher in the mid-rounds that you think could be a steal for the Jets?
I'm a Alex Highsmith fan out of UNC Charlotte. Just the player he is, the way he's grown over the years. Went down to the Shrine Game this year. He showed really well with those guys, with that group. And this is the one thing. It's and I know you guys were talking about this before I jumped on with you. It's defensive line play. If you want a defensive tackle in this draft, that's fine. You better get it by like pick 75 because there really ain't anybody after that. Now the edge position, you're gonna have to get creative. It's just not deep. It's just not really a good draft class. Do you want to gamble on the kid from LSU? Sure. Nice player, nice potential. He bends really well. But there were times when he went against some of the upper echelon left tackles, Andrew Thomas being one of them, where he looks severely outmanned. It's really difficult. I'd rather spend a little bit on one of these pass rushers later on, whether it's a Highsmith, whether it's a Kura from Notre Dame. I'd rather get myself into a position where I get these guys in and find out within 1 year, okay, they're just a rotational piece, we can add more to it. But there's just not enough at the edge position or even the interior defensive line position this year where you're going to get a big fix. And, you saw this with a bunch of teams. They went out and spent, Baltimore actually, put in, they extended and put in a draft pick for Calais Campbell at 34 years old. Normally a guy you wouldn't invest that much in, but their thinking was this is a better option that may be available to us, in the 20s of the first round. You got to play, the free agency field versus the draft field here, and D-line help is not something that you're going to get a lot out of this 2020 class.
When you look at this class, particularly in second round, third round, are there any corners that jump out to you that can make a big-time impact if drafted?
I kind of like this corner class, and I think I like it the way you portrayed it, the second round. Because when you talk about any draft positional group, and this is something we've been doing on the show here the last couple of years, is if you have a hard time agreeing on who the top player is at a certain positional group, then the first thing in your head should be, well, does somebody from this positional group go round 1? This is something we've been doing with the safety class this year. Everyone you talk to, they kind of differ on who they think the top safety is. So if there's no consensus on who the top guy is at a positional group, then maybe that's not a group that's going to warrant a round 1 selection. Obviously, Okudah is fantastic. C.J. Henderson out of Florida, a little bit tiny but sticky, physical, great player. But then you get into, obviously Stephon Diggs' little brother out of Alabama. You get into Dantzler. I don't know what his true 40 time is, but you want to know what? I watched him play against Alabama and run with every single one of those dudes. So I don't have a lot of question about his long speed. He's got enough length to deal with it. You want to get to a nickel guy. There's a Meek Robinson out of Louisiana Tech. 5, but he will act and play and look like he is the biggest, baddest dude on the field. There's tape of him jawing at a 6'5" wide receiver from Texas, where the kid from Texas was ready to quit because Meek Robinson was in his head, was on every route, was on every step he took. It's an interesting group at the defensive back position, and a lot of people get caught up into the testing times and stuff like that. But you've got to keep in mind we're coming from an era now where any of these defensive backs, they played defensive back in high school, and guess what? In high school, they're tossing it 35, 40 times a game. It's not like these kids are green. They've seen it all. They've been tested. They played against a ton of passing offenses. Look, are they going to get beat? Sure, they're going to get beat. That's the nature of the game here when you got teams putting up 1,000 total yards, a game. A couple of times a week you get a couple of games like this. But these guys can all play, and like I said, with Dantzler, whether it was, obviously Diggs, you can find these guys in a nice mixture of length and, athleticism and just proven. They've been playing pass defense for a really, really long time. It's a really nice cornerback group. It's not top-heavy. It's more intertwined depth throughout the, second and third day.
All right, Jeff, a week from this Thursday, you're sitting there as Joe Douglas, and the number 11 pick comes up. Who are you taking at number 11 next week?
I just think there's something just too perfect between the combination of CeeDee Lamb and Sam Darnold. I look at what Crowder was able to do, with the ball in his hands last year. You brought in Perriman, who can give you some of what you lost in Robbie Anderson. I just think CeeDee Lamb gives you that nice little mixture of a Nuke Hopkins type, where it's going to be a high volume. He should be a guy that catches 100 receptions. He's shown really, really good body control and catching deep passes. There's times, and I go back to that Texas highlight, where he's got the ball. There's 5 Texas defenders around him. Somehow he literally makes a 45-degree angle cut, and nobody tackle him. They don't touch him. And he's not, he's not 4'3" guy. He's 4'5" flat. For me, unless it gets really crazy, where it's a Wirfs or it's a Thomas, and it's just that proven, and you think that it's that guy. But I think you can still get a quality offensive tackle in the second round. Just go ahead and address that. Get Sam his toy. Make the investment in what is your biggest investment, which is Sam Darnold.
Excellent. Now, Jeff, first of all, thank you for your time, man. This was an excellent 40 minutes, man. This was just phenomenal. What is the best way for everybody to follow you about the Browns and about the draft and everything else?
Well, obviously, you can always follow me at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. The show itself, Locked On Browns, at Locked On Browns, all lowercase, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's been tough here for everybody. It's what everybody's going through here is, you almost, should we do shows? Should we not do shows? And for us, it was like, all right, well, let's just leave it in the hands of our listeners. Let's see where our numbers are at. Are people still listening? Do people still want it? And even now, with the way times have changed and as different as they are, I took a couple of days off last week, just trying to reset the batteries here, getting ready to go 2 weeks straight here with the draft. And everyone's like, oh, is everything okay? And, oh, man, I'm taking my walks I'm taking you on the walk with my dog, or I'm taking, you're part of what I do when I jog. It's my mental break from the day. And I was like, you know what? All right, we should be doing this. If this is what you guys want, and you've all been here, and, nobody's protesting and everybody still wants to hear it, let's do it. Let's go about it. And, look, whether the NFL is right or wrong for holding this draft next week, hey, that's our decision to make. It's, we didn't make it. We just play the hand we're dealt here. There's ball to talk about, and I think with it is, and the one thing you always got through sports and anything with growing up, and obviously it's all been a part of all our lives, is sports give you hope. Sometimes the little guy would win. Or, you know what, one day the big, bad, evil empire is going to fall down. Well, we just got that one, thankfully. But this is what you hope for, and sports gives you hope. And I think why everybody still wants to talk sports is because in the back of our minds, we want to get back to what was the normal part of our lives. I mean, it feels weird, for me, like this last 3 weeks before the drafts, what's always got me through it? You know what? Got a 3-hour baseball game on today. And it's just so weird not to have those things. And I think when people think about sports, it's like kind of like it's enough to give them a little bit of peace to say, all right, well, this is what's going to get me through today so we can get back to normalcy and arguing about, is this guy, remember when we were talking about the Houston Astros being a bunch of cheaters? Like, we miss that stuff. That's what sports does for us all, And, I try to watch some stuff that's on television now, and, what are we going to do? Argue about, Kathy Lee and Ryan Seacrest? No, for God's sakes, hell no. Get us some sports back, man.
Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your time tonight. Obviously, we'll promote you, but everybody knows who you are at this point. You're just phenomenal with the Browns, phenomenal with the draft. And once this draft is over, we got to get you back on to do the recap of this and get your thoughts on what Joe Douglas did.
Well, guys, the way it looks at, and Ty, here, living in New Jersey, I've got the free time, big guy. I've got the free time.
We appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Have a good night.
Guys, stay safe. Stay blessed.
You too. All right, Joe, what a phenomenal segment with Jeff, man. He just dropped all kinds of knowledge on us.
Yeah, he did. I want to thank Jeff for coming on. Phenomenal. His takes on that cornerback class, that there's some guys who make an impact. Also talking about pass rushers, too. His takes on the tackles, man. Man, he dropped a lot of knowledge.
And you know what? He convinced me. We got to go wide receiver at 11. I'm convinced now. My views have changed. I'm all in on the CeeDee Lamb trade now. The one point that he made, and actually we got a bunch of tweets about this too, was the guys that haven't played left tackle in college. And he made a good point where it's like, listen, we know what Andrew Thomas is because he's already done it. We've seen it. And that's the one player that really intrigues me. The more and more I start to dabble in this and read things, and I don't watch tapes. I'm not going to lie to myself. So I try to research and see what people are saying. But Andrew Thomas, the one guy that definitely intrigues me. But then it's just like, dude, I want a receiver so bad. I'm like, I get worried that there's going to be a run from 11 to 48 where we don't get the guy we really want, and that's going to just bum me out.
Yeah, and look, I hear you, and that's why I've been such a big proponent of Andrew Thomas. I mean, I'm not like some college football guru, some NFL scout or nothing like that, but this is a guy, like Jeff has said, a lot of people are sleeping on him. I'm looking around like, I've seen this dude literally manhandle people, maul people. He's got high football IQ. Like, this is a guy that can really get it done at this level. But my big thing is, I understand people want a wide receiver. I do as well. But if you literally just watch last season, you'll see how the lack of ability to keep Sam protected completely nullified anything that we could do with wide receiver. We saw that. You can go back and watch games of tape where, Robbie is open on certain plays, and Sam cannot get the ball to him because he's either on his ass or he's running to save himself, coming straight off the edge. I mean, there were so many guys that were just in Sam's ear hole. Once he said hike, it was it was a wrap for us offensively. And so I understand the need for wide receiver, and I hear you. I love CeeDee Lamb. I'm a big Jerry Jeudy guy. But, man, if you don't find some way to shore up the edge, if you don't find some way to get that franchise left tackle, and you keep letting guys scream down on Sam, this offense will be nothing. And it doesn't matter who you have out there, wide receiver. They'll never get the ball, where they need to get the ball because you'll always have breakdowns in protection.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating case. And that's why, when we put these questions together for Jeff, we both had the same question. We're like, all right, what's the drop-off after the top 4 receivers? What's the drop-off after the top 4 tackles? Because you want to see, where to get the most bang for your buck. We obviously want the best of both worlds. We want a game-breaking receiver, and we want a quality, high-caliber tackle. We're trying to find ways to do that, and that's Joe Douglas' challenge. That's his challenge starting next Thursday. Yeah. We want both. And not only do we want both, Joe, we need both.
Oh yeah, we do. And I've been saying that for quite some time, too. And I know a way that we could get both. I'm not going to frazzled. Yeah, you could get Trent Williams. You could do that, too, but, there's a couple of ways we can get both. But, this is something that we need desperately. You've got to find some way to put, pieces around Sam. You've got to see what this kid is and what he isn't. Because, again, I'm going to keep talking about this for forever until that time comes. That rookie year deal, the clock is just ticking on that deal. And it's just ticking away. And if you don't find some way to surround this kid with something to see what his ceiling is and what his floor is, you're going to be in a world of hurt, and you're going to have a bunch of question marks about him trying to keep him as your franchise quarterback when you have to pay him top dollar. Let me tell you something, all right? Sam ain't taking no hometown discount. Ain't nobody took a hometown discount to stay here in years, forever. So we've got to do what we've got to do to make sure that he can, be able to move forward and be comfortable back there when it's time for him to execute and make plays.
Yeah, no doubt. So we're going to go to calls because a lot of people on hold, and we apologize for the whole times, but Jeff's just so good, man. It's impossible to not get him on and get his takes on the draft because he's, definitely an expert. And we're just fans trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do. So we're going to go to Mr. Tyrone. Tyrone, what's up, man? Yo, Tyrone. Oh, man. The first call.
Can't wait.
What
are we doing here, Joe?
Just give him a chance.
Yo.
Come there you go.
Come on, man.
Give him a chance, man.
Hello?
What's up, Tyrone? We're waiting on you, man.
What up, baby? Hey, listen. Yo, my man was an amazing caller, bro. And I've been saying this, Tyson, and I need an apology from somebody. Somebody to apologize.
Oh.
I've been saying this for the last 4 weeks. Take the best receiver. You can find value in the later rounds at tackle, or also bring in Peters. But Sam needs his guy. Yo, I totally agree with that. Like I said, man, I love when he comes on the show, man, because he covers everything, man. The biggest thing that scares me in this draft, man, like, I'm kind of believing Joe Douglas is going to do really good, bro. I really do. I mean, a cornerback, a tackle, you know what I'm saying? Maybe get some depth at on the O-line, maybe a guard or something like that. I would love Hennessy, you know what I'm saying? I would love to have him. But like I said, man, I'm excited, bro. I'm really excited about what we're about to do, man.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank you for calling in, man. I love talking to you. I want to get your thoughts on this, Tyrone. I don't know if we talked to you about this, but there's a lot of people that think we should trade down as well. What is the furthest that you would trade down, and what kind of package would it take for you to move?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, Joe. I'm not really big on the trading down. I've been doing all these. I'm telling you, man. See how bored I've been, man. I've been doing these mock drafts where I've been trading down. I would go maybe Atlanta, but I would have to have a second, and they probably won't offer a second. I don't see trading down for a fourth. It makes no logical sense. Or maybe a third. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not enough. If you go with Atlanta, they offer a second, I'm all with it. But I really don't want to move down. I'm like, listen, get the player that we need. And now in the second round, I don't mind moving down. Maybe even the third, I don't mind moving down to pick up an extra fourth or something like that, or you can get another solid player to come in. But in the first round, I really don't want to move down. Unless it's something that you can't say no to. You know what I'm saying? You make me an offer I can't say no to, but I don't see no point in that.
Yeah, Tyron, I tend to agree with you. A part of you understands, listen, if we get more draft picks, we get more players, we get all this, but at some point, I want these studs, man. I want these elite playmakers now. I don't want to settle for less. I don't want, it's unfortunate we have a lot of holes, but that doesn't mean, just create more or put Band-Aids on them. Some point, just go for the guy and get him, and that's just what you got to do. I kind of agree with you, and it's our luck, we trade back to 16 or 17, and then we don't get the guy we want, and then it all falls apart. I'd rather just get the guy. If you want to move around in the third round, okay, or fourth round maybe, but just get elite players or high-level players at this point.
Exactly.
But, you look at go ahead.
Go ahead, tell me what you're saying.
No, go. Continue. Good. You got it.
Oh, no. What I was saying is this, though. Like Tyson, and I'm glad you agree, bro, because it makes sense. I mean, in the first round, let's get the guy we're supposed to get. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if we take a tackle, I'm not going to be mad. But I've been making this point of taking a tackle who hasn't played on the left side. Now, maybe with the kid from Alabama, Wills, I could be okay with him because Tua's left-handed. So basically, that's his left side. You know what I'm saying? There's more or less of his blind side. I can deal with that. But other than that, man, it makes no sense not to take a receiver. I mean, it's the best thing we need to do. And now, I mean, to me, what he does in the first two rounds, okay, especially the first round, we'll see. But the third and fourth round is what's going to make money for me. That's what I'm really looking at. I'm trying to key in third, fourth, and fifth round. What he does in those rounds are really important because that's what builds our team. And we've been talking about these guys for years. We have holes, and everyone acknowledges that. But having holes, you can't fix all in one season. You can't fix all in one off season. It's just it wasn't created like that. To me, if you give Sam a solid weapon, if you keep building on the line, you keep trying to improve, you bring in competition, but we have to have somebody that's going to be ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we don't know how the season's going to start off. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely like to be able to see the holes open up for Le'Veon, giving him more room, definitely easier on Sam. But at the same time, you have to give him somebody that he can depend on. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what Pittman's going to bring. Crowder's solid. We don't know what we're going to get from our tight ends. But if you bring in a CD Lamb, he's going to have a learning curve. But the kid is Andre Hopkins. I mean, the kid from they got traded to Arizona. He's that kind of receiver. Why not give him somebody that can grow with Sam for the next 4 or 5 years and see what happens? It's our chance now. I mean, I know we have a lot to cover. We have a lot to take care of, but there's no way we can fix every hole in one draft, in one off season. It's impossible, man. No. It was 8 years of building this.
No, listen, I agree with you. And the one thing I've been thinking about more and more is, we've been talking about get receivers, get offensive tackle, then we need pass rushers, then we need this to be that. And the more I think about it, based on the talent in this draft class, I would go in the third. It's just say within the first 2 rounds we go wide receiver. In the third round, I'm going wide receiver again. If you want a pass rusher, the minute this draft is over, go sign Marcus Golden or go sign Everson Griffin. Like, you have guys out there. Like, we're going to make free agent moves after the draft. I think you can cut some players and get more room. Like, you don't necessarily have to draft a pass rusher. If you want to stock up on receivers because the wide receiver class is so good, go for it. Draft 3 of them. I really don't care. And then if you want a pass rusher, go get Marcus Golden for a year, and then go in the draft next year for a pass rusher. But I just want offense, dude. Offense, and just cover it. I'm done with this. You know what I mean?
Tyson, my whole point is this, and I definitely agree with you. I mean, I'm saying, like, you know, what a coach or the defensive mind like Greg Williams, I take a flyer on the guy in the 5th or 6th round that Greg Williams can coach up. You know what I'm saying? Because he's that kind of coach. He's proven that he can coach up. I definitely want 1 or 2 cornerbacks. Somebody that can come in and compete, that can grow, that can either step in this year or next year and be that piece that we need. I also would like to have like at least 2 receivers, if not taking a flyer in the 3rd. On the 6th round on another one. You know what I'm saying? I definitely would like to cover that. This is what we need. You know, we can't fix everything. Give me a tackle. It has to be drafted. Maybe even 2. You know what I'm saying? 1 to groom a later round project. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want 2 cornerbacks and give me 2 to 3 receivers. You know, and everything else will fall into place. There's going to be a lot of guys that are not, you know what I'm saying, that's not going to be drafted. Now, we might not get 3 receivers, but I think 2 is definitely feasible because we need that. You need an influx of talent. It's not just, you know what I'm saying, and I definitely want the running back. What's the kid name from Maryland? McFarland? That's the kind of kid we need. The kid is...
Yeah.
Go, Joe?
Yeah.
Look,
I think it's McFarland, but I hear you, Tyrone. I'm right there with you. I've been talking about that as well. The need, to build this offense. I'm looking at it like, I don't know, if you can pass up, going offense at least the first 3 rounds, if not into the 4th as well, because there's so many needs. I'd like to see us get 2 wide receivers, maybe even 2, outside of taking a tackle in the 1st round, getting another, offensive lineman as well to work. Because that right side, I don't think is looking very pleasing at all here either. So there's definitely some help that is needed there, man. But I want to get your thoughts on this, man. When you're looking at this situation that we have at wide receiver, what are your thoughts on Ruggs? Because I know you talk about CeeDee Lamb a lot, but is Ruggs a guy you would be interested in as well if he's sitting there at 11?
Now, this is right here, Joe. I'm glad you asked that, man. And at first, I was kind of leaning towards that, but I'm like, no, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because he's not a for sure bet. He's either going to hit or miss, and I don't want to take a chance on a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? A guy like that will kill Joe Douglas if he doesn't hit. You know what I'm saying? It'll kill our fan base if he doesn't hit. So no, I don't want somebody like that. Yeah, his speed is amazing, his upside is amazing, but the guy's not solid. He's not guaranteed to be that guy. I think Judy or Lamb is going to be a hit. Like, you can't miss with those if they stay healthy. I don't see how you can miss with that. So Ruggs, I don't think so, man. He's too much of a what if. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want a what if player because he's going to have no OTAs. Maybe a late training camp, and then the season starts, man. I don't want a guy like that who's just a speed guy. You know what I'm saying? That can take the roof off it, but you don't know what else he can give and bring to the table, man. Like I said, I'll be too scared of that because I know you can find a guy like that in the 3rd round. The kid from Pitt, the kid from Penn State, KJ, whatever his name is, same kind of guy. So somebody like that I'd be willing to bring in, but it's either Judy or Lamb. Now, if they're gone, I say have to go tackle, but those are the 2 that I want. I just think if you get those people with Sam, with Perriman and Crowder on the outside, the Titans that we have, and Le'Veon Bell in the backfield, you have a solid offense that can really produce. And that's what people are not looking at. What a guy like Lamb or Judy infuse into this team, you automatically become a top 15 offense. Automatically. Because you're giving Sam weapons. Look at it. Judy or Lamb, Perriman, Crowder, Le'Veon Bell, and the 2 tight ends, bro, if they can stay healthy. Bro, bro, that's a solid offense in the NFL. That's a real offense that can compete with anybody. You know what I'm saying? The biggest problem we have is lack of coaching, but hopefully he grows, and I have to hope that he'll figure out something to do and learn how to coach a little bit better. But that's what we need, man. That, giving Sam something like that. And the one thing people are not understanding about Sam, man, if you watch, Sam is grown, and I'm not just saying this because he's our quarterback. The kid is really grown. And if you look at his first year got hurt, last year got hurt, with the Miles situation. If he played the whole season, man, Sam would have been amazing, man. I'm just saying, man. I really believe in Sam like that. I really believe that if you give Sam some talent, he's going to really surprise us and be amazing. I really do.
Tyrone, great call, man. We appreciate you calling in. It's nice to hear the fire and passion back in your voice, man. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, man. Hey, fellas, always, man, thank y'all for having the show, man. Everybody stay safe, man. And as always, man, love you guys. Tyson, send me all right, baby. Let's go.
Have a good night, man.
All right, brother. Be safe.
All right, Joe, we're going to stay with the calls. We're going to call us next couple hours. Our next caller, Joe, is getting some serious grief on our YouTube channel, man. They are just roasting him up and down and backwards. So we're going to bring him on and he's going to rejuvenate himself, man. He can come back bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Our good friend, Shaq. Shaq has got a comeback story tonight. Shaq, what's up, man?
They roasted me on YouTube?
Dude, they're like, Shaq's so depressing, Shaq's so negative, what happened to Shaq? And I'm like, listen, man, we all have our opinions. I defended you, but they roasted you and me. So it's like, we're gonna have a positive call tonight, man. We're gonna embrace happiness.
I love it. I'm just being real. Hey, I got a bone to pick with Mr. Joe. Hey, Joe, remember it's all right. But I got a bone to pick with you. Last week, you said
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait, you and Joe are going to go at it. I got to get everybody prepared here because now this is exciting. This is my favorite part of the show here. Hold on a second.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I don't think it's going to be that bad. But hey, last week he said my take was horrible. But when I was listening to the calls, it sounded like everybody was sounding like me besides the trade back part. And then people took that wrong. I said trade back if the talent is not there or the player we want is not there. If the player is not there, then I feel like we should trade back. That was just my opinion. But what was so bad about my take, Joe? Tell me, sir.
Well, first off, Shaq, I want to thank you for calling in. First off, that's kind of like that's a very generic kind of blanket take. Well, if the player that we don't want if the player that we want ain't there, then you trade back. Well, there's more than likely. I mean, unless every one of those wide receivers is off the board and every single one of those tackles is off the board, the guy that we want is going to be there, which that would be near impossible because we're at 11.
So right tackle. So go ahead.
Well, yeah. Here's the other bad part of your take. I was going to get to this one. That's why I set this up for the second one. Is you said there's nobody that's played left tackle. Well, that's a bad take because it's wrong. Because all the guys you talked about, Andrew Thomas actually has played left tackle. He played left tackle for 2 years. That's what I said. I like. Take was bad. No, well, I don't remember you saying. I just you said. I remember. Hold on. I remember you saying. It's full. This draft is full of right tackles. It's full of right tackles, and I said no. Andrew Thomas can play left tackle. There's guys out there that can play left tackle. I remember saying that. So that's why I think they were roasting you. And I also think that they roasted you because you were talking about trading back and trading out of that. Look, the YouTube streets are tough. Okay, they're tough. It is what it is, Shaq. All right, you gotta, you know what I'm saying? You just gotta kind of weather the storm there. I'm not the one that said those things, but that's what they were saying. So they did get after you, man.
I love my fans. Appreciate it. But I'm being real. Now, I said if Becton, Lamb, Judy was there, I say if they're not there, you trade back. That's just my feeling. And Jedrick Wills, too. Sorry about him. I forgot all about him.
Okay, so here's my problem with that. Is that if Becton, Lamb, or Judy aren't there, then that means if Andrew Thomas is there, why are you trading back if you need a left tackle? That was the take last week.
I feel like he won't be there. I feel like he won't be there. Yeah,
I think that's a very good. Well, okay. Well, but I feel like there's a very good chance that he will be there, and I think that if he is there, that's the guy that we should take. But I want to kind of move forward from that, Shaq, because I don't want to, dredge on the YouTube crowd and all of our listeners on YouTube. Shout out to you folks. I want to talk about this draft with you. I want to talk about what we got going on. I want to get your thoughts on this second round, because I know we kind of touched on the first round a lot, but the second round, these mid-round picks are important as well. So who is the guy that you covet in the second round for the Jets?
I like Denzel Mims, Antonio Gandy Golden. I was looking up him. He was pretty good. Chase Claypool. I like what Tyson said. Like, he's more of a tight end hybrid. Like, I don't think he want to be a tight end, but I feel like he'll play better as the tight end because he's, his size. I think the second round we should get one of those guys maybe, and then Michael Pittman. I liked him. I agree with Tyrone, man. I think defense need to be picked around the third or fourth, later rounds because Greg Williams, he does a good job coaching. So we could even sign Everson Griffin or Marcus Golden if they're still there. Right now we just gotta help Sam, grow. And Tyson, you said something too about Sam. I'm like, why are we paying Sam so much money if we don't even know what Sam is yet? Because he still has problems with decision making. I love Sam. But he does have some problems.
I didn't necessarily say that. I said to be fair, I said this year we want to see a lot more improved decision making because the last thing we want is going another year with not truly knowing what Sam is because we're not building around him correctly. You know what I mean? If he's running for his life and nobody's wide open, and then we're going next year saying we got to get him playmakers, then we're failing Sam like we failed Sanchez and everybody else before him. So I still like Sam. I think he's a hell of a quarterback with a ton of potential. Yeah, he has to improve himself. He has to improve, but he also, we have to help around him too. That's the biggest thing is giving him a system that works, giving him protection, and giving him playmakers, and let him flourish. See how he tried to bring me into this, Joe? You see, Joe? Shaq's an instigator. You're trying to instigate, man. I see how you roll now.
YouTube streets, I did not say Sam Darnold was bad. I said he had some problems.
You're trying to bring me into this now. You're trying to bring me down.
Decision making. When it's tough.
Nothing. You lose.
Listen.
Good day, sir.
Listen. They tell you, people are drowning. Don't try to save them. They'll take you down. They take you down with them. You know what I'm saying? You got to do something else. But listen, the big thing with Sam Darnold for me is that I don't see how we can really hit on him at this point because, like Tyson said, I was going to say as well, you haven't done enough to build around this dude. How can you say that he's good or bad? At this point, you haven't given him any weapons or any protection. If you look at the book of how to ruin a quarterback, 101, right? We've pretty much done all the steps.
You hired Mike Makai.
Mike Makai, but we hired Adam Gaines, who's a horrible offensive coordinator.
Him too.
He changed his offensive system multiple times within his first rookie year deal. We've done that. Give him no protection. We've done that. Give him next to no targets to throw to. We've done that. We've done all these things that you need to do to just ruin a franchise QB. We've done it. Get him hit constantly. We've done that. We've checked every box. We've got to turn that around and and do things differently because it would be so unfair if we give this kid next to nothing and then turn around in a year or two, about a year when it's time to pay him and go, oh, well, you're a bust. That's ridiculous. And that's why I get after people that are constantly saying, well, he should just put the team on his back. That's what quarterbacks do around. They just put the team on the back. That's a horrific argument. If you give a young QB especially no time to throw, give him no one to throw to, how do you expect him to put anything on his back? He can't because the other team
linebackers and
defensive end are on his back.
Pretty decent numbers.
So it's ridiculous to me when people say those things.
But what killed me was some plays that I just didn't like, that he had in USC. But that'll all improve, hopefully. But he definitely need help. He definitely doesn't get help. That's why I said, I would love to have Lamb or Judy. I would love to. But I'm just tired of seeing Sam on his back every play. The dirt on his jersey always just on his back all over him because he's getting killed within 2 seconds. And it's like, where do we go where do we go in the draft? It's like you want to protect Sam, but you want to give him playmakers. You need an O-line to protect him, but then if you take the playmakers away, you don't have that. But if you give him a playmaker, you don't have O-line, how are you going to get the ball to the playmakers? So that's why this draft...
That's not necessarily true, though. I'm sorry, Shaq, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's not necessarily true. You can still get him an offensive lineman in the first round and get him playmakers throughout the draft because this wide receiver class is deep. Of course, you're not going to get the top, Judy, Lamb, or Ruggs, but if you come out of this draft with, Pittman and maybe a Mims or a Brendan Ayuk or, one of those guys, I think you'll be okay. And then you can go get a number one, next year. You can go target all those guys. But if you don't do what you need to do, if you do not shore up the offensive line, I'm going to keep saying this. We saw how horrific offensive line play led to our offensive weapons being completely null and void. We saw Le'Veon Bell be null and void against defenses this year. He couldn't go anywhere. There was no holes to open up, and that's what I think people are talking about is taking a tackle. Okay, doesn't just help Sam Darnold. It also helps Le'Veon Bell. The guy you guys were raving about when we signed him? Remember that? Yep. Remember when I was saying, hey, we need offensive line help, and people were telling me to shut up, Joe. We got Le'Veon Bell. Okay, we got him, but he can't go or do anything because there's nowhere for him to go. I remember that Browns game. He had like 3 or 4 guys on his back, and we were all wondering if he'd even make it out the season because he was taking so many hits. You have to shore up the line, man. You got to.
That's why when Primetime said what he said, like we had our chance to get 2 bookend tackles. We had the center. That could have been a good line right there. That was good right there. Then you just draft you draft another lineman, just to, get some depth, get some more depth. Then you're good. Then our focus could only be Lamb and Judy or getting the playmakers. Then we could have got a little bit of defense that we need, the pass rush that we need, and the corners that we need. Like, I hate my team sometimes.
Shaq, thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it, man. Just you got to be happy. Hey. Things gonna work out. We're good.
Look, I'm taking all the hits, Tyson. I'm taking all the shots. Just let me know.
Take all the hits. Don't worry about that. I get roasted all the time. I defend you, man. I defend you. I defend you. I try to help you. I try to bring out your team. I try to bring out his positive. I try to bring out your positivity instead of bringing me down with you. You took a big rope and started dragging me. I had to cut the rope on you.
Yeah, come on.
Remember the 5-game win streak? Oh, join the club. Shaq, you're being so negative. We got 5 games, 5 games straight.
I got 3.
And we ended up losing to Cincinnati. Golly. God.
They still went 6-2. They went 6-2 though. That was close.
Oh God. Another important
Have a good
question
night, man.
before you. Hold on, Tyson.
Okay.
Another one. There's one more. Are you doing a show during the draft? Because if we got a defensive player like a defensive lineman, I'm going to start dying laughing because I want to hear your voice. So that's why I want to know if you're going to do this.
What happened was Kevin Primetime started doing the Zoom thing. So we're talking about maybe doing a Zoom show during the draft so we can get like 100 people on. We got to figure out all the details, but we will do something either draft night or the next night, or we're going to have plenty of shows, man. But you know what? I'll promise you this.
Yeah.
If the Jets take a defensive lineman, in round 1, we will go live. We'll go live instantly. I will text Joe. We'll go live.
Big
instantly.
fact.
I'll promise you that.
Big fact.
Guaranteed. We promise you that.
Please. I'm going to be crying, but then once that Zoom pop up, oh, man, I'm going to be laughing my butt off. Oh, man.
Have a good night,
Good night, fellas.
Yo, Joe, I think we can make that promise to all our listeners. If they go defensive line in the first round, we will go live instantaneously. Like we don't even do an intro. We're just going right into it.
Yeah, first off, I want to thank Shaq. Love speaking to him. But yeah, if they take a player, if they take a defensive player before in that first, I'm going to lose it. We're going to lose it. We're definitely going live. But we're still trying to work out that the other stuff. Like I said, like Tyson said as well. We'll figure out what we're going to do, and we'll definitely announce it.
Yeah, so 929-477-2651. We're on all the social media platforms. We figured out how to put videos on Instagram now. So we got Instagram, we got Twitter, we got Facebook, YouTube, we're all over the place. And also we're on iTunes and Spreaker and everywhere else. So we're going to go to Griff in Pennsylvania. What's up, Griff?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. You guys excited or what?
We're getting there, man. Jeff Lloyd did a great job breaking down the draft options, and he has me all thinking about receiver at 11. So what are your thoughts on the first-round pick?
Well, I think they're going to go O-line, right? I think if, going into this year, if you needed a tackle and you need a wide receivers, this is the year, right? So I think we're in a good spot. We're going to get one of the top 4 at 11, and then we're going to get a stud wide receiver in the second round, unless a good cornerback falls. So I think we're in a good spot.
And I want to thank you for calling in. Who is the wide receiver that you covet in the second round?
I've always liked the Pittman guy for a while, and I watched some Claypool stuff. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so Claypool though is pretty interesting. So we'll see. There's a lot of good talent in the second, even in the third round. If we have to go cornerback in the beginning of the second. I also like Chenault. The year I loved. I know he has some medical concerns, so maybe he'll fall a little bit. But there's a lot of talent at wide receiver. So, if that's what we're looking for this year, we can get 1 or 2 really good options.
So you'd rather wait till the second and third round and go wide receiver instead of going for the first round pick? That's your kind of thinking?
Loaded, right? So, it's not loaded at all. Your offensive tackle in the beginning. And then you're going to have, a ton of guys to choose from in, the second and third round. So there's no reason to blow it in the beginning. So the offensive tackle is more important than wide receiver, So I think that's what we have to lock up.
So would you draft 2 receivers or just 1?
Well, I guess it matters who's there, but 2 can't be bad, right? We don't have anybody besides, Crowder, So if there's a year to load up, draft at wide receiver, this is probably the year to do it. So if we go, like I saw, there's a lot of good guys out there. You could go Pittman, and then, I don't know if you guys seen, Antonio Gibson or I think Loudon, and there's a bunch of guys. There's so many guys wide receiver this year that would be in, multiple rounds before what they're going to go in this year, that this is the year to load up. So if they do that, great. But, I say offensive tackle no matter what in the first round, and then the second and third is when you get your wide receivers.
Now, if the Jets draft, say they draft the left tackle, or a tackle at 11, after the draft is over, would you still go out and try to sign a Jason Peters or maybe bring Kelvin Beachum back or something like that for even more depth? Or would you be comfortable where we're at?
No, Beachum, I thought, should always have come back. I'm surprised that he didn't. We're signing Lewis, but we didn't sign Beachum. Beachum's been pretty good for what we asked him to do. So, I think the more the merrier with offensive linemen, especially this year. This year you have to go for, high floor guys, right? Because you have no idea about training camp and things like that. So that's the same reason, I guess, you would go out and get some veterans, because if you have some rookies come in that aren't ready, you're going to need some veterans to step in and help them out. So yeah, the more the merrier with going back and signing some guys.
Yeah, I hear you there, man. What round do you think the Jets should address pass rusher? Because I know we're talking about offense constantly, but we also need some guys to get after the passer. What round do you think the Jets will do that?
The third, I guess. I've seen some Anai go and Uche all, kind of projected to the Jets, but I guess the third round, the third and the fourth. It matters, I guess, how Douglas has his board set, where if certain guys fall, if a certain guy falls to the second, say a really good pass rusher falls to the second, say a Chase On or something like that falls to the second round, which probably will never happen, but if it does, then they're going to say, all right, well, let's get our pass rusher now, and then in the third round, again, wide receivers are going to be plentiful this year. So, it matters who falls, but the wide receivers are always going to be there. So if a cornerback falls that they have projected higher or an edge rusher, they're going to probably jump on it knowing that they can get their wide receiver later on.
So right now, as we speak, we're about a week and a half away from the draft. Who is your prediction for the first-round pick for the Jets?
I think I would say Andrew Thomas. I think Wills is going to go, and I think Wirfs is going to go, and maybe Becton's there, but is he more of a project and more of a man-zone guy? I don't know. So I think I'd be fine with Andrew Thomas in the first round, and then a wide receiver or a really good corner in the second, something like that. So Andrew Thomas, I guess, but out of any of the four, it matters how Douglas has them, but I think we're in a good spot. I mean, I think we're going to get one of the four, so we have to be optimistic about that. The question is,
Chris, thanks for calling. Good.
Hold on, one more thing. The question is, say it worked out where 3 of the 4 guys went, we didn't like the 4th guy. We jumped on a Jerry Jeudy or a CeeDee Lamb. Do we do that and automatically have like a deal lined up with the Redskins where say, hey, listen, we're going to pull the trigger on CeeDee Lamb, and we're going to send you a 3rd and a 5th or 2/3 or whatever to the Redskins for Trent Williams. I could see that happening too, where we have 3 guys in mind, we don't get them, we jump on a wide receiver, and then we already have something lined up for Trent Williams. So that could happen too. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen.
No, I think the whole Trent Williams thing is going to heat up this week because right before the draft, the Redskins, they want their draft capital. And obviously everybody's holding out. And at some point, they're going to lower their demands. So listen, no, we want a second-round pick. We're not getting it. What's our best offer? And then they may pull a trigger right before the draft. So, and that could be, like you said, the Jets, they may take CeeDee Lamb or whoever and say, you know what, here's our best offer. Take it or leave it. And the Redskins can't do it. So I think there's a lot of contingencies in place. You're absolutely right, dude. It's going to be wacky, man. It's so crazy how it all just breaks down so fast.
I think we're in a good spot.
Well, I hope so. Thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Talk to you guys later. See ya.
Yep. All right, we're going to go to Mr. Steve. Steve, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Good. You guys are staying safe out there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my best. I know Joe's got a much bigger challenge than I do. He's out there in California, first responder, and with the fire department and everything like that. But we're doing our best, man. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing pretty good. I really liked what the guy Jeff was talking about with the draft coming up next Thursday. I really enjoyed what he was talking about.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for calling in, Stevie. Listen, I'm right there with you. Jeff definitely came in, dropped a lot of knowledge. He's a great guy to talk to about the draft and the team in general. But I want to get into this draft with you as well, man, because you're a great guy to speak to as well. You know your stuff. You're a very big Jets fan. I want to get your thoughts about this, man. What are your thoughts about the Jets possibly trading back to 16, and would you do that if you were the GM?
As of right now, from what I have been reading, I think I would rather have the Jets stick at the 11th spot because the way of how I see of how this is going on is, and I know what everybody is all talking about. Here is the thing. I would really, really, really like the Jets to pick either Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb first in the first round at number 11, but let's say, if any of the offensive linemen are still available, the thing of how I look at this is, I think I would want the Jets to pick the wide receiver, but if they have to go the safer way at number 11, is go after the offensive line. So, we'll see what happens on draft night. But I'm just letting you guys know, I am completely right with you. I would not want the Jets to draft a defensive lineman in the first round.
No, I don't think anybody does, dude. I think it's just we all know what we want. We have a group of players that we're all identifying, and then we go from there. Do you see any situation where a player could drop to 11 that would surprise us? Could it be a corner? Could it be anything that would just completely shock you?
Here is the thing. I know the Jets do need help at the corner position on the defense, but I think I would be much safer if they went for corner in the later rounds, like in rounds 4 and 5. But it's just, I think right now, for the first 4 picks coming up, for the first round, the second round, and the picks we have in round number 3, I think you got to stick with the offense. Because Joe Douglas did make a promise to Sam Darnold's parents that he wants to build the offense for Sam.
Yeah, no, I think the Jets now, we're in a situation where they expect, we all expect offensive players to be brought in because they have to. They don't really have much of a choice. On defense, if they don't draft guys, there are moves to be made in free agency they can still do to bolster the lineup. What are your thoughts on just, if you look at the running back position, do you think we're going to draft any? Because you have, Powell, Montgomery are still free agents. Supposedly Joe Douglas is high on Josh Adams, but who knows about that? Trenton Cannon. What do you think happens with running back?
I mean, maybe if they would go for the wild card pick, I would probably say, like, maybe towards the end of the draft they look into running back. I wouldn't necessarily say go running back pretty like I would say running back in the later round. I think the most focused thing to focus on is the offensive line and at the wide receiver position first. I mean, and Tyrone made a very good point on his call tonight, which I really, really liked what he said. I mean, Tyrone said that I think it would be great if the Jets went for CeeDee Lamb in the first round, and then, you could go for an offensive lineman in round 2 and 3. Tyrone made a good point there tonight.
Yeah, I hear you there, Steve. When do you think the Jets should attack pass rusher? What round do you think that they select one of those in?
I mean, let's say you know what, I mean, I would probably say maybe round 4 they can go for pass rusher, maybe round 4. I think the first 3 rounds for the first 4 picks, you got to go offense.
All right, Steve, so we're a week and a couple days away from the draft. What is your prediction as of now for the Jets' first-round pick?
Well, before I say this, I was wondering, Dyson, since we did this a couple of years ago, can we do another draft reaction contest?
Ask Joe if that's what you want to do. We could do that. You want to do a Jets draft reaction contest? We could do that if you'd like.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, we should do it. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Steve,
no, I mean, as of right now, I'll make another final prediction next Tuesday night, but I believe with the 11th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the New York Jets will select wide receiver from Oklahoma, CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb will fall into our spots, but we'll see.
Awesome. Steve, thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Good night and be safe.
You too, man. The wide receiver trend is slowly coming out, Joe. We've talked tackle for 2 months, and slowly but surely, you know what the only thing we can guarantee? There's the only thing we can guarantee right now. I can guarantee you a week from Thursday that 50% of the fan base will be pissed off no matter who we pick. How about that prediction?
Well, first off, I want to thank Steve for calling in. Look, people are going to be upset. It is what it is, but I'm just hoping that, we make the right pick. I hear people talking about wide receiver. I understand the need there. My opinions differ, but I can understand their side of the coin.
All right, we're going to go to Mr. Justin. Justin, what's up, man?
What's up, fellas?
Well, not much, man. We're talking, Jeff was on for about half hour talking about draft options. He's kind of thinking that the Jets should look at a wide receiver at 11 based on the value. What do you think?
No, I'm going to say it again. If these top 4 linemen are on the board, it should be offensive line. I get it. We need playmakers. But, I don't care who's running routes. It doesn't matter. If you can't protect him, it doesn't matter who's running routes. If you have CeeDee Lamb, Judy, it doesn't matter. We need to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
This pick really isn't that hard. If you think there's going to be a guy like that can be your guy for the next 5 to 7 years and protect him, it's a no-brainer, really. The only thing I see it getting tricky is if those top 4 guys are off the board.
Yeah, I want to thank you for calling in, Justin. I'm right there with you. I think you definitely take someone to protect Sam, because if you don't, it doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter who's out there running routes. If Sam can't get the time to set up and check the football,
you said it yourself, Joe. We already seen it in action. Robbie's been open last year. See, this is the part where I don't understand with Jet fans, because they didn't want to pay Robbie, but, Robbie gave us flexibility with re-signing him. So, now we want to go a receiver when we could have just signed Robbie? I just don't get that. That Robbie was giving us flexibility to draft. The only thing I can see is a Trent Williams draft day trade, and then we go receiver at 11. But I just don't see it if those 4 guys are on the board.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that people are talking about is going wide receiver in that second round, man. Is there a guy in that second round that you think we should take a look at and draft?
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really like what Primetime said. I looked at Primetime's. I watched that whole 40-minute YouTube with Primetime and Tyson. I think Primetime hit it on the head, and we should be talking about it more. Primetime mentioned trading up. I think we should be talking about trading up. I mean, let's get 2 receivers. Enough about talking about 1 receiver. I want 2 receivers out of this draft, especially with this class. I mean, Primetime hit it on the head. If we got to give up a pick, a 3rd rounder for next year, all right, so what? It's about Sam's development. This is year 3, and it's about the building block receivers instead of 1. I think we really need to consider trading a pick away if there's a guy we like, even trading into the 1st round. I love a guy like Jefferson. If you can get him and a premier offensive line, I mean, that would be ideal.
So say they go offensive tackle at 11, and our next pick is at 48. You'd want to trade up, add a 3rd rounder and move up in the 2nd round?
I mean, it all depends who's on the board. I mean, I ideally maybe trade into the 1st round and get a Jefferson or T. Higgins. It really depends where he ranks these guys, too. I mean, I think there's going to be a run of receivers, like you guys are saying. I mean, I think the receivers are going to get hot sooner or later. So, I mean, it really depends where...
Justin, to go in the 1st round, dude. To move from 48 into the 1st round is going to cost you some stuff, dude. It's more than 1 pick.
Big capital.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, it's we need building blocks for the team. I mean, if you can get another starter receiver that you think is graded like 4th or 5th receiver for Sam, and pairing him with, I mean, I don't know about that, and getting a premier offensive tackle, I mean, then you could really start to talk about development for Sam. So I think that would be worth it. I mean, it depends what you got to give up, obviously. But, I mean, it depends where these guys are ranked on his board.
That's an interesting take, man. I mean, what do you think, Joe? That's an interesting take.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, especially when you're talking about the capitals that you're going to have to give up to move back up into those rounds. It's going to be a lot. And we're talking about the building blocks.
I mean...
Hold on. We're talking about the building blocks that we need. Dude, the building blocks you're going to need, you're not going to have many picks to address because a lot of them are going to be gone. If we're talking about moving from 48 back into the 1st round, you're going to have to move back into probably, maybe the mid-20s to get some of those guys that we're talking about right now? Because
I'm not
we're sitting at 11 right now.
Going to the 1st round, but, I mean, pick 16 in the 2nd round is, I mean, that's kind of not, you kind of got to make moves in your pick 16 in the 2nd round. I mean, I don't know if guys are going to really be there that you're ranked so high. I mean, you're going to have to move up in the 2nd round. I would assume so.
Well, even if you're moving back up in the 2nd round, I would guess that you're probably going to have to give up, maybe a 3rd, maybe another 4th, something like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we have enough because, again, I know we're talking about, tackles and wide receivers, but there are also other needs as well. Corner is a big need. Edge is a big need, especially with the deep wide receiver class the way that it is, too. There's a lot of wide receivers in this class. You can end up taking two wide receivers in the top 3. I think you'd be solid.
Pass rusher should be addressed post-draft unless you're going to take a project guy. We should not even be considering a pass rusher if it's not round 4 for later. I mean, come on. There's guys that after the draft that can help us with that. Pass rusher shouldn't even be addressed. I don't think there's too many holes. I think pass rusher and even running back, I don't think we're going to have enough picks to do that. I think we got to focus on 2 receivers, 2 linemen, and maybe 2 cornerbacks. I think that's what we need to focus on.
How is there? Wait a minute. How is there a world where you think pass rush is not even a? I mean,
maybe a project guy in the 5th round, but I mean, there's still
not a project. That could be a project guy.
There's too many holes.
I don't understand. I just don't understand this. You have me with this. I agree that you can go Marcus Golden, you can go Everson Griffin, but to say that it's just kind of just brush it off we don't need a pass rusher in the draft like a project guy. We need more than a project guy. I thought we could have a guy in round 4.
Is not that great. This rusher class is not that great.
Oh my gosh. I mean, listen. If there is a guy they think it could be a rush to passer in round 4 that's there, I would take him. Like, I'm not brushing it off.
That's okay. I said that a project guy. That's all right. That's okay for round 4 or 5, but not anything.
Round 4,
not 1.
I think round 4 we want more than a project. Is that the joke? Are we looking for a little more than a project in round 4?
Round 4 is not a stud
passer. Project to me is round
you're acting like the stud round 4.
Round 4 should be a contributor, right? Am I missing something here?
He's no stud pass rusher.
Nobody's saying he's a stud in the 4th round, but he can contribute and get to the quarterback. Not going to be a guy that
round years from now. Not the first 3 rounds. They said 4. That's fine. Take a guy round 4, 5, 6, whatever. But round 1, 2, 3, no thanks. I mean, unless the LSU guy drops a lot, but I just don't see it happening.
Justin, thanks for calling, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joe. I got lost there somewhere. I for some reason, I've been on my best behavior tonight. I really have. I had to bite my tongue a little bit because it just didn't factor in with me there for some reason.
No, look, and I want to thank him for calling. I want to thank Justin for calling in. It was a great speech. I let him finish. I wanted to hear his total point before I chimed back in. But when he said, hey, I'm looking at the situation like, look, I understand that there's needs. I get it. And I understand that, hey, you covered certain guys. But if we're talking about trading up and get rid of third-rounders with a team that has as many holes as we need, and I know people are just looking at this year, you guys also have to remember there's a lot of one-year deals on the table. That's what I don't think. Like this whole mirage that we filled so many needs in free agency, I think you guys need to look beyond that. Guys like Jordan Jenkins, 1-year deal. Pierre Desir, 1-year deal. All these guys could be gone next year. So I also think you need to start drafting for those guys as well, those needs too. So we still need, I just talked about, we still need a pass rusher. So maybe, you could look at pass rusher in the 4th, maybe our 2nd, 3rd round pick. You could also take a pass rusher as well. There's a great need there. We haven't had a pass rusher in I don't know how long. So you have to kind of look at those things as well. I'm just, I get Justin, but that was a little out of there.
Do I get credit for not attacking and not mentioning the waffles or the questionable takes? Like, I didn't attack Joe. I stayed and let him speak and I gave the proper silence. I get credit for that, right?
Did. I will give you that. I'm not gonna take that away from you. Okay, I'm not a hater. But I also want to say that you didn't attack him, but you did throw Shaq under that bus. I just want to put that out there. Anyone wants to go back and listen to that real quick? Okay, I didn't say anything there either. But this show is recorded, so you guys can all go back and listen to how he completely left Shaq just out in the rain. Didn't give him an umbrella. Didn't say, hey, you want to come in the house? Nothing. Just said, all right, have a good day. Slam the door on him and let the rain just pour on down on his head. I mean, you threw him under that bus as quickly as possible. All right, so everyone just go back and listen to that where Tyson just absolutely turned on him. So thank you.
We're going to go to Paul on Long Island. Paul, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Not too much, man. We're just trying to figure out the Jets draft options, a lot of players, a lot of just, I don't know. It's a matter of preference. What do you think about the draft?
Well, before I start, Tyson, I actually been the one who was messaging you on Twitter on Meatball Parm. I don't know if you remember me for a couple of weeks ago, but how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Good that you got on.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me. All right, so I think in the first round, I don't go anywhere but offensive line. I don't care if CeeDee Lamb is there. I don't care if Judy is there. I would just rather, if the top 4 guys aren't there, I would trade back, maybe into like they said before, the 16th or 17th, pick up an extra pick later on that you can use on a pass rusher or another wide receiver. But I'm not taking those receivers in the first round. I just don't think long-term that you get the kind of value that you think you're going to get from a wide receiver there. It just has been proven too much in the past. So I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I want to thank you for calling in. That's an interesting take. So look, I'll go with you. Say we're trading down, then when are you taking that wide receiver? Are you doing it in a second? Are you doing it in a third? And if so, who exactly do you covet there?
Well, I actually I saw something on Twitter a while ago, and I actually thought it was like one of the best mocks that I've seen. And this is actually if the offensive tackle is there. I would take the top 4 at 11 if whatever one is there at 11. And then in the second round, I would also pick another offensive lineman. And if Ruiz is there, the center from Michigan, I'm taking him as well. And you can kick McGovern into one of the guard positions. So you get 2 starters right in the first or second round, right there. Move McGovern to guard. And then you take, with the 2 third-rounders you have, you just pick 2 wide receivers. You pick the best ones available. If it's like Van Jefferson, Pittman, if someone is there, just pick those 3. So you get the 2 offensive linemen, and you get the 2 receivers. I understand it doesn't leave any room for pass rusher, but I just think that's the best scenario for the Jets, in my opinion.
See, that's a bold take, man. Now, I could see what you're trying to do, but wouldn't you be concerned by the third round where the Jets are picking and the potential of you run on wide receivers that you may not get the quality receiver you want at that point?
Yeah, I guess it's just a sacrifice you need to make. As many people have said, and my good friend Nick says as well. So if your offensive line is not good, then it doesn't really matter what kind of weapons that you have anyway. I'd rather have a wall in front of Sam and then worry about trying to fill in the pieces at wide receiver after that. As long as my franchise is protected, then we can fill in the blanks in other spots, even in free agent, not free agency, but, people get cut or whatever. I'm just all in the camp of just not letting anything happen to Sam, because if something happens to Sam, we're finished for a while. So that's just my opinion, but I get it. Go ahead.
But what is your assessment of the free agents they signed? I mean, they signed a bunch of offensive linemen. Do you not have confidence in those guys by adding like the rookie left tackle that you think they'd be okay, that you need another lineman high in the draft?
You talking about the second rounder, you mean?
Yeah, if they get Andrew Thomas at 11. So there you have them plus all the guys they signed in free agency. You think that you still need that guy in the second round? You don't feel comfortable with the free agents they signed to maybe go offensive line later in the draft instead of second round?
No, I think you just play the numbers. It's just like I forgot who said that you just keep on picking a quarterback until you get the right one. I think that a guy like a smart center like Ruiz and a guy, and that's funny you said Thomas, because that's who I want at 11 if he's there, Andrew Thomas. I just think having building blocks there to grow with Sam for years to come, I think is just way more important to me. And I know the guys that they signed weren't like the upper echelon guys, so I'm taking the young guy, the young guys out of the draft to build with Sam, and then whoever goes through and actually wins the job out of camp, then I would plug them in, and the other guys would just be backups and depth. The one thing I'm concerned about is Fant. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I don't know the quality of some of the guys that they've actually gotten. I understand they're better than the guys from last year, but is that really saying much? Like Van Roten, is it really saying? I mean, it kind of seemed like an average kind of guard, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to go over to the defensive side, because you got, your takes are kind of bold. What exactly would the Jets address corner on your board? I mean, is it well after the third, or is it the fifth? Is it the sixth? I mean, when are they taking a guy to see, if they can take a flyer and see if a guy can come in and make some impact?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't know. If we go by what I was saying before, you're looking at the fourth round, and I don't know what the depth is in corner there. But I got a question for you, though, and you're probably going to kill me for it. But what happens if Okudah falls to 11?
Christ.
He falls to 11.
What happens if he falls to 11?
He falls to 11. That's it.
Then he wouldn't pick. Okay.
Listen. Yeah, no. Look. I want to make this very clear. I think Okudah is a phenomenal corner. I think he's great. I do. Mm-hmm. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's, people argue he's the best in the class. You can make an argument. I know Henderson is around there, but I think Okudah is number one. There's no way, and I'm talking no way, that you can look at the position that we are in right now,
right,
and look at Sam Darnold in the face and say that you're going to take a corner over taking a tackle, over taking a wide receiver, or anything like that. I think he's phenomenal. But we have such great need at offensive playmaker, wide receiver, so on and so forth, that there's just no way you could take him. There's no way.
Right.
Now, maybe it'd be interesting if a team behind us, maybe a pick behind, maybe the Raiders would be interested in, moving up and taking him, or somebody right. That would be interesting. That's a trade back scenario that I could see. Maybe a team that's one pick behind us wants to move up and take him. I could see that. But other than that, you don't move and you don't take them. You can't. There's just no way you can do that.
Right. And to answer your question, or try to answer, I'm not too familiar with all of the cornerbacks in this draft. I've heard of the couple of guys that were up in like the first and the second round. So the way that I described before wouldn't be there for those kind of corners. So I guess I'm kind of screwed if it comes to that. But I don't know, but I'm sure that there's still pretty decent corners in this draft, even in the third or fourth round, even if you don't go 2 wide receivers in the third and you just pick another, a pass rusher or a defensive back there. I mean, that's fine. I just not enough on the defensive backs in this draft.
Yeah, it's interesting because you're going based on your initial plan where you're saying you go 2 linemen first, then you go 2 wide receivers. I mean, it's interesting, man. I'm not disagreeing with you because it's definitely fills some need. It's just interesting to take that approach. You never know. It could happen for all we know.
I mean, it's not the smartest, maybe. I don't know, but I just think that that's just a good plan because what have we been lacking, for 22 years now? It's been 21 years now is offense. And for me, I've never seen a great offensive team except for 1998. So for me, we finally have our quarterback since how long? We can get something to protect him.
Man, you had Fitzmagic and Decker and Marshall. What about that high-flying offense?
Hey, Magic, wonderful. No, thank you. Me being being a lone Jet fan for over 30 plus years, I just want to see another, just a Jets synonymous with offense. The Jets are never synonymous with offense. They're always like you guys, even in 2009, 2010, we were just a running team. We weren't great, weren't explosive. We were which was good enough. We almost made it to the. But I want that high flying, Dedrick Ward, Corbett, Keyshawn kind of offense with Curtis in the backfield. I mean, that's what I want. And it's been so long since I've seen something like that. So when I look at a draft where we could potentially have those kind of guys with the offensive linemen and the receivers, I'm like, sign me up any day.
Would you be concerned? But would you be concerned where, if you look at Greg Williams' defense, I mean, they definitely overachieved last year when you consider all their injuries. But this year they have a couple new moving parts. They have some holes, maybe corner, maybe pass rusher, and they're playing against much better offenses this year. Are you concerned that if we don't add a piece or two on defense, that they could struggle more this year just based on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. But maybe we can score more points. So we're kind of balance. You kind of tipping the scale the other way. So maybe you give up on defense, we're going to be scoring more. I don't think the defense is going to drop off by that much. I just think if they do, then we make it up on the other end. We make it up in offense, and that's protecting Sam and getting him weapons.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's one of the biggest things. If you upgrade the offense, you win the time of possession, you get the defense off the field quicker, and it kind of all trickles down, so it definitely work out. Paul, thanks for calling in, man. We definitely appreciate it. I'm glad you got on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Have a good night. Yeah, he's one of the guys, Joe. On Twitter, we go back and forth. We throw all kinds of ideas around. It's like our Twitter account, man, has been chaos. Like, almost every day, people are sending mock drafts and predictions, then they attack you and you get feedback. It's like the Wild Wild West over there, man.
Man, it's absolutely great. I want to thank him for calling. It was great to hear his perspective. Yeah, people are throwing around a lot of stuff. There's a lot of different ideas and ways to build the team, and the fans are definitely chiming in and speaking out.
And the best thing is, one guy is like, well, this is what I think, and you don't watch enough tape. I'm like, it's funny. I don't watch any tape, man. I've never once said I studied. You never heard me say, I watched the tape and studied it. I never once ever said that. I just share opinions, things I've read and research, and that's it. It's just like, hey, look. But I could quote a YouTube highlight if you want.
You queue up the YouTube highlights. Well, look, everybody has their different perspectives. I definitely don't claim to be like some college football savant, and I just, know every single guy up and down, the road. But everybody has their own takes, man, and everybody has watched players, and there's players that they like, and guys they think they can come in and get the job done. And that's what this is all about, man, debating opinions and talking about how to better the football team.
All right, now we're going to bring on one of my favorite segments of the show. We're going to bring on Mr. Primetime, who I did a Zoom thing, which was a lot of fun. Primetime, what's up, man?
Oh, you brought me on at the perfect time, and I'm disappointed in both of you guys.
Oh, now what? What happened now?
All right. Well, let me start with the positive. I actually agree with a lot of your takes tonight, both of you guys, on as far as the draft goes, with the offense. But the thing that I'm shocked at, we're 2 hours into this show, and you haven't brought up the biggest news over the last 48 hours that directly affects the Jets.
The last 48 hours directly affects the Jets.
That has a huge impact on the Jets.
Tim Tebow bashing us on Easter?
No.
Let's see. What is it? Joe, do you know what it is? What did we miss?
Let's hear it, Primetime.
Well, there was a player that was drafted 2 picks ahead of Jamal Adams.
Oh, Christian
just
McCaffrey.
signed a pretty lucrative contract extension. And I bring that up for a couple of reasons, because we've talked on this show for a bunch of weeks at how guys typically don't get that contract extension before their fifth-year option, or at least after it, right? So now that narrative's dead. Matt Rule came in and said, you know what? This is a guy that's great for my culture. He's respected in the locker room. I'm going to reward that. Jamal Adams is looking at that saying, I want that. And not only that, it's interesting, Matt Rule, he sees a running back as being worth $16 million a year. A guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. We have Le'Veon Bell. Fans are talking about cutting him next year because Gase doesn't value him. Very interesting. I'm just a casual observer.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, if you look at the Panthers, they're, definitely a team that's set up, differently than us at this point. I don't know. I guess you're trying to make an argument that we should give, Jamal top dollar right now. Like I've said, and I've said this before, I just don't think that we're in that position, especially when you look at this team and you look at how we're built. We're horrific right now. And we're trying to figure out a way to build around a franchise quarterback. Carolina is better than us in many spots. Many spots.
Exactly why we're not built to trade away talent right now. Unless you're getting a haul completely rebuilding your team, multiple first-round picks, or a stud offensive lineman and a first and a second, or something crazy, and his asking price is through the roof, and he doesn't want to be here. If all those factors are check it, then fine. But that's not the case, at least as far as we know.
No, we're not in a place. We're also not in a place to pass up getting capital back to continue to build this football team. We're not in a place to do that either. If you want to talk about trading tomorrow, you should just say that, because we could definitely go there. I've said this before.
We have capital next year, and we have plenty of draft picks to work with this year and next year.
No. And we don't have enough. We don't have enough capital. We don't. Because if we did, we would just build. We don't have enough capital. We need more. And while you're talking about more cap space next year, because the cap's going to go up, so are the contracts. The contracts are going to go up.
And who are we paying?
Again, we're paying the guy. First off, we got a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. So guys, we're going to probably need an outside linebacker next year. We're going to need a corner. We don't have a number 2 corner this year.
Joe Douglas is not building his team for free agency.
Oh my God!
So those going to be contract extensions. If they play well, they're going to be rewarded with extensions. That's how Douglas is going to try to build this team. That's going to be his vision. Go through the draft
how exactly
find guys on short-term deals and reward them
extensions. How are you saying those guys are guaranteed extensions? You do know they have to agree to that, right? You do know that if they play well this year, there are going to be other teams vying for their ability as well. So it's not like those guys are guaranteed to sign back here. As a matter of fact, we've seen in the past that most guys that do play well here walk away and go somewhere else. So stop saying, those guys are guaranteed to come back here. That's not factual
at all. They're guaranteed to come back here. I say you have the money to bring them back if they play well.
You have the money to bring him back, but they also have, again, you're going to be bidding with other teams, so there's no guarantee for them to come back. You need to start drafting to fill those positions. And hold on,
not only start establishing a culture that actually guys want to play for. Instead of trading away players like Jamal Adams and sending the wrong message that, oh, if you play well, you're not going to get rewarded. We're going to ship you out.
You know how to address the culture? You know how to change. You know how to change the culture here? Win. That's how you do that. And you know how you build winners? You get players that can play at premium. No, you get players that can play at premium positions. Guys like corners. Guys like Ed. You get wide
premium position offensive linemen.
You go in and you get yourself a people that can protect Sam and keep him upright, so that you can sign that guy to a franchise deal. That's another guy that you need to be looking forward to spending.
You can do that without trading Adams.
And the premium position argument is not ridiculous, because if you look at why we've been bad, Kev, it's because we've been bad at picking premium positions. That's why McCagnon got fired.
Ed Reed, a safety, Ray Lewis, an inside linebacker, won a Super Bowl as the anchors of that defense.
No. See, that's what I'm saying. These are horrible arguments that you bring up. Go back and look at those teams, Kev. It wasn't just...
Yes, they have more talent around them. I understand that.
Nate
Darnold's a better quarterback than Trent Dilfer.
No.
Le'Veon Bell's a better running back than, who is it, Jamal Lewis or whoever they had?
Those offenses were better than ours last year. So what are you talking about? Because they had better collective talent. Sam is better than Trent, but Trent had a way better offensive line. Trent had more weapons than we do this year. Go look at it. Those offenses are better than ours.
And there's no reason you can't draft a number one wide receiver at 11 and get a guy like Trent Williams on your offensive line after signing McGovern. Your offensive line is like you said that last week.
Were built around safeties. Those defenses were not built around safeties. Go back and look at the talent that's on that team. That's a horrific take. Those teams were good at premium positions. Baltimore had pass rushers out of pass rushers. Look at that Pittsburgh defense.
So you're trying to say that because Ed Reed didn't play a premium position, he's not an impact player?
No, what I'm saying is Ed Reed is an impact player, but if they weren't good at premium positions, he wouldn't have had the same impact that he did. If you took Ed Reed and put him on our team,
him and Ray Lewis were the stars on that defense.
Do you think we would have been better? No, we would have been losing games with him here. That's what I'm telling you. When you don't have a pass rusher, when you don't have a...
So imagine what Jamal Adams would do if you added a pass rusher.
Guess what, you're done. Yeah, guess what? We don't have the capital to do that, Kev, because we've been drafting horribly for 5 years. That's why
you don't do it this year. You address the offense this year, and then you get your pass rusher next year, along with your corner.
What? And it's time to pay Sam. You have more than just one need. That's what we keep trying to tell you. You keep going, well, you can address this, address that. You're also going to have to address corner again. Because, again, Pierre Desir probably not going to come back. There's no guarantee on any of those guys with these one-year deals. That's what we're talking about, and that's what I've been talking about. You keep acting like it's guaranteed to be. It's not at all.
You have the money. You have the money to sign them back. I'm not saying they will sign back. I'm saying you have the money to offer them an extension, and you have draft picks.
You have the money to go chase guys, which you can do. You still need a number 2 corner. If Pierre Desir walks away, you need a number 1. We're going to also pay the draft tax. You're going to need a pass rusher. You're going to need multiple positions.
This goes back to my original argument, though, about
your mind.
Again,
it's a horrific
just 1 second. This goes back to my original argument, though, about why we're talking about, all right, we need a number 1 corner, a number 2, a dominant. Why we need all of these things at once, because we don't know if we have the coaching. If we had a different head coach, or if we thought differently about the head coach, let's just pretend for a second Adam Gase is a good coach. Just him alone with Sam Darnold and some of the pieces that we have here, we're having a completely different conversation about this team.
Look, I will agree with you there. The coach needs to step up. Adam Gase should have never been hired, should have been fired. Your guy McCagnon hired him, so we stuck with him. But to sit here and think that this offensive line isn't, it can be 2 things at once, Kev. That's what I don't understand with you when you make that argument. The same way that I used to scream for Todd Bowles to get fired as well because he was a bad coach, and you used to come on this show and talk about how we should keep him, right? I used to say this, you can be a bad head coach, but the talent can also not be there as well. Adam Gase, not a very good head coach, doesn't raise the talent level of his players. That's one of the biggest problems with him, is that what you see with him is what you get. He's not going to make you better. But this offensive line is also bad, too. These guys are horrific in run blocking. I was watching Winters get tossed aside all last season. We were watching guys stream off the edge and beat Kelvin Beachum like it was nothing. They were bringing 0 blitzes, and we couldn't pick it up. So there's more than it's more than just Gabe. There's some bad tackle. There's some bad offensive line play. We also saw, some issues elsewhere too.
Listen, I'm not trying to say any of these guys are stars. I'm just saying that when you have a coach that is predictable with his play calling and defenses can tee off on passes that are 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, I mean, what do you expect? And again, a lot of the issues with the offensive line, it was communication. You guys talked about that every week. It was 3-4 man rushes where guys just didn't know who to pick up.
It was a little bit.
And a lot of those same guys performed a lot better on the offensive line with Jeremy Bates calling plays the year before. It's just a fact. Look at some of the games that Darnold had.
It was a little bit more than just communication, because when guys were asked to block guys one-on-one, they were just getting beat. I remember when Miles Garrett just had a day against us. That Browns front just absolutely ate us up. They couldn't do anything. I remember they wanted to max protect at one point. I was there at that Browns game. Still couldn't block anybody. There was guys still getting in. So it was a little bit more than just that. Like, there's some talent issues here, that we are deficient in talent at certain spots. We all knew that coming into last season. But
when you have an elite quarterback, though, that can change very, very quickly, especially when you do have some other pieces. We discount Herndon as a legitimate tight end. We don't talk about Bell enough and how he should be used. Crowder's a good slot receiver. If you're adding a number one wideout at pick 11 and addressing the offensive line the way we've all talked about, the way they should address the offensive line, you said it yourself. That offense is set. And so your defense is bringing back Mosley. If they're at least confident like they were last year, Greg Williams showed he could at least have guys fill in and play well. So why should this team be that far off if the coaching can do its job?
Well, if the coaching is better, I think we'll take a step. But I also think you need to slow down a second. I don't think people are discounting Herndon. I think Herndon's a question mark. Like Herndon's some sure bet. That guy's been injured. That's why people are quote-unquote discounting him. He hasn't done much. Of course, the talent, we've seen the flashes of the talent be there, but he hasn't been on the field. You're talking about addressing the offensive line. If we take a tackle, we'll be a little bit better, but is the offensive line much better than it was last year? Not really. What are you moving Fant to the right side? Fant's not a good tackle on any side that he plays. Connor McGovern's an upgraded center. Alex Lewis was on that line last year. He was getting talked around too last year. There was games where he was getting abused, and our right guard spot is there as well. So there's still some questions. We don't have to have 5 studs, but there's still some questions here on the offensive line. So there's picks there. Again, I'm not defending Adam Gase. His play calling is very bad. But you also got to look at when guys are going on man and still getting used and abused and beat, and we're still trying to figure out where Sam Darnold is. What is he going to do? Is he going to take that next step forward? There's some questions there, and they need to be addressed. And that's why I continue to say, and I'm not going to get off, making trades and making moves, possibly moving Adams, would benefit this football team. I'm going to keep saying that. Because the capital that we could get back for that dude, we could address so many more needs. We could. He's a great player, phenomenal. But we are not in a place that we can give that type of money to a safety and then continue to build, especially when you're talking about paying Sam Darnold right behind him. Right behind him.
I just think if you end up trading Adams,
I don't get it.
The same way that after we traded Revis, and then we ended up taking Milner and Dexter McDougal, and then 2 years later, we were begging for a corner, and we were watching Revis win a Super Bowl with the Pats. I feel like if we trade Adams, a year from now, 2 years from now, yeah, maybe we'll have a pass rusher, maybe we'll have some pieces on offense, but we'll be saying, we need a safety. We need a game changer like Jamal. We'll be trying to find somebody to replace it.
Yeah, here's the thing about that is you're comparing 2 different positions and 2 different kind of impacts. When you look at what Revis was bringing, that guy was playing a premium position at corner, and he was at the top. Like he literally changed the outlook of your defense. Put him on one side, and they just didn't go over there. That literally nullifies so many offenses going up against it. There was nothing you could do. The thing with him is that trading him away, he was just asking for too much. Even in that situation, it was just too much. It's too much. We're trying to build elsewhere. We got to move forward. We cannot give you that type of cash. We cannot do that and continue to build around this team. So they did at that point what they thought was best. Hey, we need to move on from him. Okay, but we got capital back for that, and it was misused, mishandled. That's why we didn't get what we should have got. But hey,
and that's the risk you take. But that's the risk you take.
No, that's the risk.
We don't know what Joe Douglas is as a drafter yet. We all hope and we think he's going to be good, but we don't know. We're trading a known commodity. That's a locker room leader that went from Pro Bowl to All Pro in 2 years and 3 years. Like that guy, we're trading for something that we don't know.
He's a safety. He's a safety.
He's not
he's
just
a phenomenal safety.
He's not just a safety.
He's a safety. He's a phenomenal safety, but he's a safety. I'll tell you what we do know, though. I know. I tell you what we do know. We do know that Sam Darnold, we are killing him right now. That's what we do know. We do know that we need weapons ad nauseum. We do know that we need an offensive line to protect him, or he probably won't finish next season. We do know that. We do know that we will rank 32nd offensively in the league. 32nd. That's a league that includes the Dolphins and the Bengals. We will rank lower than them. That's atrocious. You cannot do that. You cannot, in an offensively driven league, be that bad offensively and think you're going to win something. I don't think that if we make this move and handle the capital correctly, I don't think that we look back and go, man, we're really looking for a safety, because we can still address that. I know tons of teams that have been drugged to the playoffs and won by a quarterback. I have never known a team to be drugged to a playoff by a safety. Never.
Do you know who the Chiefs named their team MVP last year?
Was it Matthew? I think it was.
Yeah, it was Tyrann Mathieu, safety.
Yeah, and you know what the Chiefs' top thing is? Offense. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce.
That's why I want to. That's why with these 4 picks in the first 3 rounds, I want all offense, and that's why I want to trade picks from next year to get more picks this year and get more offense, or trade for Trent Williams.
All those weapons, when you have all those weapons, you can actually score points. When you have all those guys that can move the football and an offensive line to protect, how that happens. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happens there. Also the Chiefs have pass rushers too, right? You know that too, right? That they've made moves for. So when you don't have the capital to get all of that and build around, and you can move a guy, you could do that. Because when it comes time for the Chiefs to pay Mahomes, they're going to be able to do that and still, have a nucleus, and we don't have that. So nice comparing a Super Bowl winner to us. That was a good point there.
I mean, you just said safety can't really make much of an impact, but.
No, well, again, you're taking things out of context because, that offense. Remember, they were down by 20-something points.
So why can't we have an offense
really stormed
and
back?
have more
remember that? Do you remember that? You remember that, how that offense was able to put up all those points?
Yeah,
I don't think we could do that as a 32nd ranked offense. So maybe you should think about that before you compare.
Big reason that our head coach,
offensive production and keeping a safety. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe that's something you might want to look into. So.
I mean, if we had a different head coach, it might be easier to evaluate.
Well, hey, if your man Mike McCagnon didn't hire him, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation.
What's also funny, though?
I remember you
for about 7 weeks, we've talked about Mike McCagnon. Every week we've mentioned McCagnon. We haven't said one word that Joe Douglas hasn't had to find a quarterback. The one thing that we spent 3 years on this show talking about, finding a quarterback, Joe Douglas had that gift wrap to him on a rookie deal. Let's talk about what he's going to do with that.
Yeah. What's crazy about that is, you're right, we haven't had to talk about finding a franchise quarterback because we've had to talk about finding so much else. I wonder why. Why have we talked about... Do we need
anything on the defensive line right now? We have 4 guys that are making absolutely nothing. Quinn Williams, Kyle Phillips...
Why are we talking
Foley
about
and Shepard
corners?
Making nothing.
Why are we talking about
we have 2 safeties. One's an all-pro. Another one.
What are you talking about?
Quinn Williams and Henry Anderson are both making money.
I was just about to say,
he's on his rookie contract. He's not going to break the bank over the next 5 years. He's on his rookie contract. Henry Anderson, you can get out from his contract next year. I'm talking about Foley, Shepard, and Kyle Phillips. Those are 4 guys that are making absolutely nothing, that are pieces on your defensive line. You have 2 safeties. One's an all-pro. Another one, Joe, you said is better than the all-pro.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Douglas decided to bring back Jordan Jenkins. He brought back Brian Poole, guys McCagnon brought in.
You have no corners,
you have a running back that should be a Hall of Famer, if you used him right.
No weapons to throw the ball to. Nobody to block for Sam Darnold.
Crowder's a weapon.
32nd.
Robbie was a weapon. Douglas let him go.
7 and 9.
How about this, Kevin? How about we talk about... Let's talk about the draft. Let's move forward a little bit and talk about the draft. What were your thoughts on Jeff Lloyd's point of definitely going receiver at 11?
Man, unless you have Trent Williams, it's so hard. I mean, I love the idea of getting a receiver, and like he said, if you could definitely pair that guy with Sam for the next 5-10 years or whatever, it's hard to pass that up. But I think it's equally as valuable to have a legitimate anchor in front of Sam Darnold for the next 5 to 10 years. So, if you can get Trent Williams, then I think it makes that pick a lot easier to go receiver. But, if not, I think offensive line still has to be the priority if, one of your top 2 or 3 is there.
Yeah, this is where I keep going back and forth, because you keep going, and even Jeff said himself, he's like, you're going for maybe the 4th best offensive lineman against potentially the best receiver in the class based on your value. And that's kind of like the kind of game of, you got to pick your poison there, which is interesting. Then he said, if you look at, if the drop-off isn't as big for offensive linemen as it is receiver, it's just, listen, it can go either way. That's
where it's going to come down to draft boards and depth, because, Jeff was making some points about some of the offensive tackles, going 13, 14 deep. And, that's not even including any of the guards. I've heard, 7, 8, 9, 10 guards could be, potential starters down the line. And I've heard the receiving draft class could be, 20 to 25 deep. So if you're talking about 50 potential guys on the offense at positions of need, why are we talking about taking anything else other than those 2 spots in the first, 3 rounds?
Yeah. Well, my biggest question is I don't understand how we're even in a position to walk away from the 4th best in the class. How are we even in a position to even be talking about that? Honestly, it's not like we're getting the worst lineman in the draft if we don't take the 4th best in the class. So why aren't we taking that guy to better our offensive line, especially, again, my guy is Andrew Thomas. We're taking him at 11. Your left tackle spot is short up. I just don't get that, especially when you look at how deep the wide receiver class is. We can still get a wide receiver. It may not be a breakout number 1, but we could still get a very solid wide receiver in the 2nd and continue to go into the 3rd. And then we can piece those guys together with their weapons.
Yeah, people keep mentioning on Twitter, it really just depends on how Joe Douglas grades these offensive tackles, because, the 4th best guy on his board might not be, the 4th best guy on somebody else's board. And, if that guy drops to the Jets, it all depends on how he views that guy and what the drop-off is from the next guy that he thinks might be there in round 2. Is getting a number 1 receiver better if, you still have a starting tackle there in round 2? Or is, the drop-off so big from the tackle at 4 to 5 that you have to get that 4th tackle, and you still think the receivers, 10 through 25 are all good, where you're comfortable with that? It really depends, what your evaluation is, I think, in the mid-rounds.
Well, listen, my biggest fear is that all 4 are gone, and at 11 they reach for the 5th one, and then I'm really going to be pissed.
No.
That's because I keep seeing mock drafts where they have 4 of them being gone by the 11th pick. I've seen several that are like that.
All right, so if 4 offensive tackles go, you have a couple quarterbacks maybe go. Chase Young's definitely gone. Akuta's gone. Derek Brown's gone. Let's say 2 is there at 11. What's it going to take to trade back?
You might be able
to get a haul for that.
Yes, I think 2 is going to be long gone by then. I think 2 is gone. I just had the fear that because everywhere you read, everybody needs offensive line help and needs receivers. So if that's what happens and those 4 guys are gone at 11, I fear I hope he doesn't go like, a Josh Jones there or something like that at 11. That's just like, you can't reach. You got to just, but Joe, would you be worried about that?
Well, I would hope. I would hope that, he wouldn't reach for a guy, that, like you said, that should go later than that and just say, hey, I'm just going to take one of these guys right now. I'd rather, honestly, I'd rather him just trade down and take the guy later then. You might as well just pass on these guys if that's who you have and who you want to take. You might as well just move down and take the guy where you can still get him and gain capital. But if there is a guy sliding down the board, we should definitely look to make a trade and fleece a team if we can still stay in range to get a guy.
Yeah, I'm all about trading. I'm all about trading picks from next year to potentially move up. I still want to have 4 picks within the first 3 rounds. But if you can move, a 3rd next year or even a 2nd next year if you have to move up in the 2nd round, or even a 1st if you want to get into the 1st round and, get one of those receivers like a Justin Jefferson, or, if you think a Josh Jones is a legitimate starting tackle right away, if you went receiver at 11, I think those options should be all on the table because you need pieces this year.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Listen, like I said, like I myself, I keep waffling. I'm like, you know what, you got to go offensive line. No, and then I'll watch like all the receivers. It's like I watch the receivers. I'm like, oh god damn, I want a receiver so bad. Then I go back. It's like you have like the two devils on one, like the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other shoulder, and you keep going back and forth with yourself. You're like, it's crazy.
The receiver is the sexy pick, and you see, guys like Julio Jones and all. You want to have that. You want to be able to root for that. But at the same time, it's like, how many number one wide receivers, usually win Super Bowls? Is it easier to win with a number one wideout, or is it easier to win with, a dominant offensive line and build that way? I don't know.
See, my fear is just, I just, like the NFL is like a copycat league, and I just fear there's going to be a run on wide receivers, and we're going to be sitting there at 48, or even like the people are saying, oh, we'll just get one in the third round. I just had this fear that there's going to be a ridiculous run, and we're going to be stuck with guys not there that we, it's just like...
It's funny, though. The one thing I disagreed with Jeff about, when he was talking about, the passing league, which it kind of has become over the last decade, but last year, I think it was the top 5 teams that were still left in the playoffs. They had the 4 best rushing offenses, or like the top 4 defenses also, with Titans, Patriots, and
49ers
as well. Yeah. So I mean, you can make the argument that there's multiple ways to build a winner. You don't have to just have the high flying offense like the Chiefs, where their defense really wasn't all that great. You can win multiple ways. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the first, I usually have a good feel of who I want, and we make all these bold predictions and stuff, and almost every day I change it. I try to do my own mock drafts and predict things, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't do this, and it's just, and there's always one team that makes that pick, you're like, what the hell is that? There's always that one dumb pick in the first round you can't figure out, so you got to try to account for that, and it's you almost, then I started getting, this is how bored I am, man. I started looking at, if the Jets would have lost to the Bills, how much higher would they have been? If they would have lost this year, how much higher they would have been? Because this 11 pick is just really pissing me off.
Don't even tell me what the answer is. I don't even want to know.
No, I don't want to know either. I was like, you know what? If we why did we win that first game? I'm sure, it's just it'll be our loss.
Dude,
that win,
dude, just like the year before.
I know.
Yeah, dude, the year before we had. When we lost out on Bosa.
Yeah, I know.
We had the same record as the Niners.
That's why I just sit there. I'm like, it's just the Jets' luck. It's that one meaningless victory over a second-string Buffalo Bills team is going to cost us a guy we want or some nonsense. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, growing up, I always used to be that fan, late in the year. I used to always root for the wins. I never rooted for the tank or anything like that. And then, you just reach a point where it's best interest in the team is sometimes just to friggin' lose and, get that best pick. And, oh, God, what could have been?
Yeah, no, it's been a lot like that lately. And so what was your reaction to our little Zoom thing there? Did you have fun, Max? I knew I was just dropping all kinds of stuff on you.
No, that was awesome. It was good seeing the feedback, too. I think the fans really enjoyed it, so I've definitely got to start doing that more. And, yeah, I can open it up to 100 people, so anyone that wants to join in, we can send out a link. Well, I think I have to send out an email. I'm not really sure. I'm still trying to figure it all out, but, yeah.
All right, so we'll figure it all out. We'll announce to everybody, and that's it. I guess we'll wrap things up here. So thank you for coming on, Primetime. I like this weekly segment with you and Joe. It's a good time.
Oh, I can fight with him all day. I got to start finding stuff to fight with you about more.
Save that for YouTube, man. We'll fight on YouTube.
Sounds good.
I'll talk to you later, man. All right, as we wrap things up here, first of all, we want to thank everybody for calling in. We want to, obviously, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, @TalkJetsRadio, or Let's Talk Jets Radio. We're on iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Google Play, everywhere else. And we'll be doing a bunch of shows over the next couple of weeks for the draft. We'll do probably 2 shows a week of the draft. Right after the draft, we'll do another couple of shows. So enjoy that. Joe had to jump off. He's a fireman out in California. He's a first responder, so he's got to take off. So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening. Joe is not offering free hugs, and I'm only kidding, he is. And we will talk to everybody probably before that, but either the end of this week or definitely Tuesday. Talk to you guys later.